Good evening, it's Friday night and it's time to take flight here at the MODUS Super Series. An international-looking Group B is going to come to its culmination over the course of the next 3 hours or so. And things, well, they're as tight tonight as they were going into yesterday. This is what happened. Stefan Schroeder occupies bottom of the table, nil par from his first night, but boy, did he run into a couple. The quick-paced American, Danny Lauby, had a mixed bag of a card. 4 points for him overnight, looking to make it through to a second consecutive Champions Week. The Fawn is into his 9th appearance here at the Super Series and is looking to maintain a 100% record when it comes to qualifying. Fallon Sherrick won 3 from 4 on the opening night. The Queen of the Palace looking to book a Saturday night return. But the man with the secret formula for the Super Series, Steve West, tops the pile, but still feels there's room for improvement. Yes, and joining me up here on the balcony with his shirt, but no tie, Glenn Dowen. Great to have you up here as ever on the balcony. Yeah, I had to drop that one in there. But what an afternoon that we've enjoyed here. The Super Series in Group C, because that came to a fascinating conclusion.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The question this morning was, how do you get 2 players with, from the 3 that were qualifying? Then we had this sensational run from Mike Huntley, who, let's be honest with you, from Monday to Thursday didn't do an awful lot. So it was looking like there was another fantastic MODUS Super Series story. Sad to see Martin Adams not qualify. You do get a little bit greedy, but in the end, the top 2 deservedly went through.
Well, this is how the table finished up in Group C. Justin Hood and Reece Colley going through, and they were the right 2 in the end, weren't they? In
particular, Justin Hood. I mean, at times, Henry, he really demonstrated his real qualities. He has a real A game. He put a real 100-plus average in at one point, and for me, he's the one who demonstrated his real qualities. And for Reece Colley, good on him, because he's had a very up-and-down career. Like I said, his partner's 37 weeks pregnant as well. You could argue he's got things on his mind too. So, yeah, it was a good Group C, and Justin Hood, deservedly for me, is the big headline from there.
Keeping with the food theme, he's looking to buy those shares in the Chinese restaurants.
Yeah, I thought the interview with him was superb, and you don't often see the personality of Justin Hood on the stage, but I thought when you chatted with him, I mean, we had a real giggle in the comms box, and just shows us a different side to him.
Well, he didn't pay the bill, but it was nice of you to do so, Glenn. Right, let's have a look and see what happened in Group B last night. This is the table going into tonight's affairs. Steve West and Fallon Sherrick lead the way on 6 points. Interesting hearing from Steve West last night, because he lost his first game. He won the last 3, but he came up here, he spoke to Chris Murphy, and he was not happy with the way he played.
Yeah, I'm staying in the house with him, and when I got in, I just said a few words, and I said, I think you were wrong with your assessment. You lost your first game, won your next 3, and I thought it was a job well done. I thought he was particularly hard on himself, and I didn't think it was really necessary, and he just sort of looked at me and went, okay.
You had to feel for Stefan Schroeder a little bit, because he just ran into a group with 4 just complete and utter form horses.
Yeah, he's out of depth, but he wanted to be in this group so much. Interestingly, after the night had finished, and it was very late, maybe 1 a.m. in the morning, who was on the practice board? Stefan Schroeder. I think despite what happens tonight, he's enjoyed the MODUS Super Series experience, and he'll be a better player for it in the end.
It should be noted he is here by merit, and he's looking to show it over the course of this evening. He did so by getting into Group B in the first place. Right, this is how the betting looks as far as the group is concerned. Now, Steve West has moved into 5-6 and 13-8. The big mover really is Fallon Sherrick. 5-1 at the start of play yesterday, now into 11-5. Robert Thornton, them two have effectively traded places, haven't they, as far as the market's concerned?
Yeah, and Fallon Sherrick would have been a real odds-on favourite, but in the same very late last night, it was a roles reversal of the first game, and Robert Thornton put a particularly good performance on to beat Fallon in the last game, and I think that would have really give Fallon just a real opportunity just to win 1 game to qualify. Very much all to play for. We've had our own differences about who's going to qualify, which 3 tonight. Once again, it's 3 from 4, and yeah, it'll take a good person to pick them 3.
Well, it's been a tantalisingly exciting group, this Group B, and you at home have been getting involved in the bet builder in your droves, and this is what's been picked this evening. Probably the most busiest bet builder we've ever had here at the Super Series, so it was really hard to pick this 5-2 treble tonight. Over 2.5 180s in the Sherrick-Thornton game. That's first off the back behind us. The match winner in Sherrick against Schroeder, and then the match winner market in Thornton against Schroeder. Pace just over 5s.
Yeah, so clearly people are saying that, Stefan Schroeder's not going to win games tonight, and that's fair play based on what you've seen. I think Stefan could be out there and will get a win under his belt tonight. He could play that spoiler role. That first one of requiring 3 180s in the match that's about to start, what you've got to take into consideration, the opening game of the night, there'll be a bit of tension up there, because if Fallon wins this one, she's dipping a toe for qualification already. For Robert, he suddenly becomes in a good position, because Robert also plays game 3 as well. That maybe just might take away the real power score, and I'm not so sure about that one.
Could the first game be the biggest game of the night, potentially?
It's one of them groups where you think, yep, this is the real headline game. Then you look at the next one, then the next one. I just think sit back and enjoy. You've got 5 fantastic players. A real potential winner of this group can go on and win it tomorrow night. And not just win it tomorrow night, but all of a sudden become a real big contender for Champions this week as well. Look, at the beginning of the week, Group B was the one that stood out. It delivered last night. I'm looking forward to it tonight.
I think we'll take your advice. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a night at the darts. But before we do that, Glenn, you've been double jobbing tonight, haven't you? You've been on interview duties, and earlier on, Duzza caught up with Fallon Sherrick.
Fallon Sherrick, just before we get on to tonight's matches, I've got to ask you, you were in Group A. How would you reassess your form in that week?
I'm probably not going to think too much about my form in Group A. I mean, there was a lot of, I wasn't consistent enough, I felt. Yes, I had a couple of good games, against Dave, but other than that, I wouldn't say my consistency was great in Group A. So I've tried to kind of forget about Group A and more focus on Group B and take the positives on how I played last night. Yeah,
the motivation was what I said in Group B. You just look really focused. And I guess that you're here because the bigger picture is the Grand Slam and the Worlds. You're getting some really serious match practice tonight. You're in a really big group this week. Eyes on the prize for tomorrow night?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, the eyes on the prize is obviously getting through to Saturday night. But I'm quite happy to be in Group B at the moment with all the calibre of players that's here, because they're the calibre of players that I'm going to be playing at the Grand Slam and the Worlds, and I couldn't ask for a better practice going into that.
Exactly, and then going into the World Championship and the Grand Slam, you must be getting super excited for them.
Yeah, I'm always excited to go to the big TV events, but the main thing I want to do is just showboat what I can do. And like I said, this is why I take, weeks coming into the MODUS series, just to try and edit my game, try and make it better so I'm ready for them big occasions.
Well, from me, Fallon, it was absolutely fantastic to commentate, and the very, very best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
Well, this is a group littered with champions, and these two trophy cabinets have extended a fair bit over the last 18 months or so. But the one thing missing from that collection is a Super Series weekly crown, both looking to do that for the first time tomorrow night. But the first objective is to get through, and this first game could well be pivotal. Joining Glenn Durwan in the commentary box is a very good evening for the very first time tonight to Laura Turner.
Yeah, thank you very much, Henry. Yeah, and welcome everyone to this final session of Group B. And what an evening it looks to be. As Henry said there, both these players, so many titles, so many achievements so far in their careers, but yet to achieve a weekly win here at the MODUS Super Series.
And Fallon to throw first.
First port of call for both of them is to get through this very tough and very tight-looking Group B. I don't know about you, Duzza, but obviously a bit of a 4-horse race, and it's still hard to pick one of those names that isn't going to make it through to tomorrow.
Yeah, perfectly put. I totally agree with everything you're saying there. I can't pick 3 from 4. Just chatting with Henry.
70.
He really fancies Dan Lowby to qualify, and I said if I had to pick based on yesterday's performance, it would be Dan, for me, who would just miss out. But, with someone like Dan Lowby, tomorrow's another day, and he can just turn it on. I really liked Robert Thornton yesterday. He wasn't at his blisteringly good best, but when he needed to be, he did. And I thought he was superb in that final game against Fallon. But it's Fallon who's come out the traps very, very nicely here.
55.
And it's also something that served her well yesterday. Her opening match against Steve West, she came out very strong, very quickly. Won that game 4 legs to 2 with a 94 average. So if she can do something along the same, then she's going to put all the pressure onto Robert Thornton from the off.
Yeah, I sort of look at 10 points, Laura, as being qualification, but the fact that Stefan Schroeder potentially I hope I'm not being too disrespectful. Potentially could end up on 0 points. We could even get a situation with the 40 points that are on offer.
Like 116.
The top 4 could all finish on 10 points. There's loads and loads of permutations, but as you rightly said, Fallon was superb in her first game against Steve West last night. She's just trickled into the treble one there, but I think every game's like a headline act.
80.
Yeah, totally agree.
170.
Great last start there from Fallon to leave herself on a double, but Robert Thornton eyeing up a 170 checkout.
Game
And that
shot
is
the
a
first
170
leg.
checkout.
Robert Thornton.
And that is almost exactly what happened to Fallon yesterday in that opening leg. Steve West took out a
Second leg,
160 in the
Robert to
opening
throw
leg.
first.
Robert Thornton there
Game
finds a
on.
170, but an important 170. It's a really early break of throw, and that has laid down one heck of a marker.
Yeah, Fallon did respond to that 160 from Steve West, who was struggling going into the 160.
35.
Whereas Robert, you just sense he's playing very nicely, but that 170 was just... You've also got to look at the fact that Fallon sat pretty on a finish.
83.
But an incredible moment for Robert Thornton. Mario Robs had the highest finish all week of 167. And up steps
100.
Robert, and I just looked at the timetable as well of these games, and the fact that Robert, if he can get a win over Fallon, and then he's back in game 3 as well, all of a sudden then he's top of the table.
43.
For me, it's fell nicely for him if he can get by Fallon.
180.
Well, he's certainly doing the right things at the right time, Robert Thornton. First 180 of the match for him, and in a commanding position in this second leg.
58.
I can see how much Fallon has matured as a person. Just interviewing her tonight, you know, albeit just been a couple of questions, but
45.
she just handled things very well. Well, on the dartboard now, she's sort of up against it with that 170, and the fact that Robert's already down to a finish. But when she's asked questions,
180. Robbie, we're going
more often than enough,
141.
she can provide darts like that. She's a real fighter. We've had a 170.
129. Fallon, you're going 137.
Yeah, Fallon now searching out her own big finish. Won't go, so Thornton back for a 2-0 lead.
59. Robbie, you required 12.
So far, so good for Robert Thornton.
Game shot on the second leg.
And that
Robert Thornton.
just adds to the success of the night so far. I just sense he realised it was a really big game, this one.
Feel like
And
it's
I had
Fallon's
that
to throw
same
first.
feeling when
Game
Robert
on.
stepped onto the hockey against Fallon last night. Because Fallon could have gone on to 8 points and pretty much only looking for the one win. But this head-to-head battle,
81.
if it does have a turnaround with Robert Thornton winning both of them, all of a sudden he becomes a heavy favourite to qualify.
93.
Yeah, I can foresee quite a lot of twists and turns throughout the night.
140.
And the way Fallon throws, and when those first two go in, they normally do follow, but still a good 140.
137.
Yeah, we've got our eye on the in-play table as well, and legs different, points scored. It's very, very tight in
59.
an absolute quality group. May start downstairs on 271.
104.
That's another way of doing it. Once again, they're starting the 19th, you think of the 170 finish, whereas that first treble 20, as once again, we've seen the 170 from Thornton. A superb effort on the
81.
141.
Robbie, we're going 167.
What's he going to do on 167?
Yeah, not quite as emphatic as what we've seen so far, but great last start.
And require 140.
And the way this game's gone, you feel this 140 needs to go, and it's not going to.
44.
It's not like it's a first
Robbie,
time for
require
Fallon
84.
playing Robert. They just seem to be playing each other most weeks on the exhibition circuit as well. And I wonder if there's any sort of how their head-to-heads have gone in that, and can either person look back and use that as a
68. Fallon, you require
catalyst for
96.
success for themselves. But it's all about Robert Thornton at the moment. But Fallon does have the habit when she's down. They've shown some real fight and tenacity,
James
just
shot the
like
third
that.
leg. Fallon
Another
Sherrill.
outstanding finish in this absolutely quality game. The finishing has been absolutely
Robert to throw
superb.
first. Game on.
Yeah, as you say, you can't really argue with that. 1 from 1 for Fallon, 2 for 3 for Robert Thornton. And there you see him hit
180.
yet another 180. Yeah, some impressive averages. 102 for Robert. Fallon down on 86, but still fighting.
123.
Tell you what, Robert Thornton really does look up for it tonight. As Henry mentioned, never failed to make a finals night.
And that may surprise me because he just knows the
59.
type of personality that will feed off a crowd. So to have that wonderful statistic about that, because he has to motivate himself, as we've said many times. That's why he's chuntering away. That's right. It's really fist pumping, gritting his teeth, because he needs that to succeed. He needs that to be at his best.
140. Robbie required 24.
Or a 10-darter.
Game shot on the 4th leg.
Yeah, well, has to settle for a
Robert
12 darter,
Thornton.
but I'm sure he will, because that puts him 3-1 in front.
5th leg, it's
Yeah,
Fallon
Fallon
to
looks a
throw
little
first.
shell-shocked there,
Game
doesn't she? But all credit goes to Robert Thornton.
on. 60.
I think it all kind of goes back to that very first leg. Fallon set herself up perfectly for 36. And then along comes Robert Thornton with different ideas, takes out that 170, and the whole
99.
dynamic of the match just completely turns.
I think a good thing for Fallon, if she loses this game, her next game is against Stefan Schroeder in game 4. I think that's pretty much ideal for her to
99.
get back to winning ways. I don't think it's not the end of the road, but I don't think panic stations will be kicking in for Fallon. She's too clever, too cute for that these days. She's got that real steely determination. She just has that something, maybe something that you can't even practice for. It's just sort of in you. And a 96 finish, I thought was going to bring her straight back into the game, but she's up against an inspired Robert Thornton tonight.
128.
Yeah, there's a real urgency about the way he's playing. It's very direct. And yesterday we did see him, his hands out. He wasn't happy about certain parts. Even when he was hitting finishes, he was still kind of gesticulating to an imaginary crowd.
58. Robbie McGraw, 134.
Not seeing any of that so far tonight.
$40.
Yeah, he's never ever satisfied, is Robert.
$58. Robbie require 94.
On the 19's bed for the bull.
50. Finally require 130.
Well, we've seen a big fish, and 130, commonly now known as a little fish. Will this go for Fallon? Great start.
He's going to jump in a cardboard box now after that second dart.
180.
Well, she's put some
Robbie
pressure
require
on.
44.
44 for Robert Thornton. For his beloved tops. And it's flawless
Game
Thornton in the
shot and
opening
the
game of this
match.
Group B.
Robert
A quality
Thornton.
match, two fabulous players. An awful lot of respect there, but it's Robert Thornton who's come out the traps very, very nicely. He looked good value for money, dependent on winning that first game, averaging well over 100 for the majority of that game. And Fallon didn't pay bad as hell. That 96 finish from Fallon was an outstanding moment, but Robert Thornton, 99.56. But look at that high checkout, the big 170. Absolutely wonderful start from Thornton. And next up, it's top of the table, Steve West against Stefan Schroeder.
Talk about starting as you mean to go on. Robert Thornton kick-starting the game for a 170 checkout and then averaging just under a ton to get the better of Fallon Sherrock by 4 legs to 1, and that really opens up things now in terms of the qualification. Next up for us, well, that man Steve West. 3 wins from 4 on his opening night. He's becoming a bit of a Super Series specialist, it has to be said, and he's looking to make a return to finals night. Up against him, Stefan Schroeder looking to get his first win of this particular group, our ADC European representative. Really enjoying the experience here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth, and he's looking to pick up some wins to cap it off this evening. Right, let's get into this one. In the commentary box, it's Glenn and Laura.
Yeah, thank you very much, Henry. And it's a case from Robert Thornton to follow that. That was one of the performances of the week so far. And when
First
you think
leg,
of that
it's
final
Steve
game
to
from
throw
Robert Thornton
first.
last night was a
Game
98
on.
average. To then follow up with a 99 average there. He'll be sat really pretty, looking good. And now it's over to the man who was just maybe a little bit
60.
hard on himself after his performances yesterday. He didn't start the day very well against Stefan Schroeder, who was seeing for the 5th day now.
140.
I said he was a little bit out of his depth, so maybe it was a little too disrespectful because he got here on merit. He finished 2nd in Group A.
58.
Just a slight equipment change for Stefan Schroeder. If you have a little look at his stem he's using, that's a little bit longer. So for whatever reason, we'll try and have a chat with him. But that blue stem, the part of that, it looks a lot longer, actually. It looks almost Luke Humphreys-esque.
180.
First 180 of the match goes the way of Steve West. And I do agree. I just think this is a wonderful opportunity for Schroeder to kind of make the most of playing on the stage
59.
and make the most of the experience. But if yesterday is anything to kind of go by, and that's all we can kind of judge things by, I just think the caliber of the other players
89.
maybe just a bit too much.
Yeah, he's learning. This is the group he wanted to be in. He finished 2nd in Group A, as we stated, and albeit he hasn't put in the monster averages.
105.
He's
Stevie
looked very
Rockaway,
consistent at times.
114. $54. Stephen Iroquois, 100.
So an option here.
78. Stevie
Yeah, the
Iroquois,
option of
60.
tops there to Stefan. Just a little bit scrappy there from Steve West for that first dart. But he got away with it. Only needed the 1 dart at tops. But Stefan Schroeder definitely scored a lot better there.
Game on.
His darts for me just seem to be sat a little bit flat. And I'm not the only person assessing people's throws at the moment. We've had a message from Graham Usher.
57.
There we go. One of the real MODUS Super Series. But he's on about, has Robert Thornton sped up? Is he throwing that dart a lot quicker? And is that the reason
40.
why he's now putting in these big averages?
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on it, didn't we? It just looked like he had that sense of urgency. Really did have the bit between his teeth in that opening match.
96.
Yeah, he's done himself the world of favours. Moved up to 2nd as Robert Thornton on the table. But a win here for Steve West would see him clear by 2 points at the top.
180.
He's 2nd in the match. Like you said, just looking at that angle of that camera there, you can just see that the
100.
darts are a little bit flatter with this longer stem. I mean, one of the moments I remember from last night was the fact that when everything was done and dusted,
Well,
this is nice.
180.
back-to-back 180s from Steve West, but when all was done and dusted, round about 1 a.m. this morning, Stefan Schroeder was back on the practice board.
58.
that's commitment.
Stevie Rockaway, 101.
Ten for tops once again.
61.
Missed by the narrowest of margins, but Steve West really is becoming one of those, is a real specialist on the tops.
And a very confident in himself. This is a 180 fest.
130. Stevie Rockaway, 40.
Well, this is his favourite double these days. And when that angle goes, usually means one thing.
Game shot in the
And it's
second
that.
leg.
Once again,
Steve
very
West.
deadly from Steve West. Just a nice balance. Just one of those bizarre stats where he hasn't scored 100
Phil
once.
Steve to throw first.
He hasn't scored a 140 once in this
Game
match.
on.
But he's got 3 180s, which is telling me if the first one goes, the rest will look after themselves.
100. $96.
Yeah, we did expect a lot. We've built this group up, and so far it really hasn't disappointed as Steve West finds that red bit once again.
Yeah, look, we had great moments in Group A.
140.
You know, the record from Dave Evans has to be commended. We had a competitive Group C where at times we've seen a couple of the players really step up, in particular Justin Hood.
58.
But I just
Steve's
think
last score was 140.
this Group B has really delivered. There's real quality right rounders. We just correct that last score. But yeah, I've been very impressed. I don't know about you, Laura, but that interview that he did late last night, I wasn't 100%. Sometimes they can put a mic in your face just while the adrenaline's running. And 6 points from 8 out of that group, especially when you've lost your first game against Fallon. He's just a little touch hard on himself.
Yeah, I think so. And I think Steve, he's another one of those players that he demands a lot from himself. He's, again, a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to that, and perhaps lingered too much on the loss and not enough on the positives because he bounced straight back. And as you say, he did get those 3 wins.
It reminded me, you know, when an athlete runs in the heats, and
139.
they're really tired, but they don't want to show they're tired. I just got the sense that he was just trying to say it with the rest of the players. Yeah, okay, I got 6 points, but there's a lot more to come. And it was just it would have been nice for him just to go up to say, look, I'm happy with the 6 points, but I know I'm playing better, and I'll be out tomorrow to do some real damage. Gone to his desired tops.
42.
He's like Steve West for me, Laura. If he wins this group this week, if he wins Saturday night, I think he becomes second favourite behind Daryl Pilgrim.
94.
Yeah,
Stevie required 20.
I think he's just got that real will, that will desire.
Game shot in the third leg.
And that
Steve West.
It's a really good dart for double 10, and he's 3-0 up.
Yeah, real talent. You know, his execution of the game is
Well,
very
did
good.
Stevens to throw first?
You know, sometimes when you go off the professional circuit, people can go into obscurity. Whatever happened to Glenn Durrant? But Steve West, for me, is looking
57.
better. You know, the trajectory of his career is good. He did tell me he's waiting on an operation as well. So once he gets that sorted, he'll be able to determine exactly what his
85.
priorities are in 2024. But I do sit here as a big fan. I won't tip him if he does reach Champions Week, because I did tip him last time and he sent me a message again. Similar to David Netter.
100.
Thanks, but don't do it again.
Yeah, and I guess we often speak about how the MODUS Super Series is that great stepping stone for players to get the
85.
opportunities like Stefan Schroeder here, but also for those who've kind of left and lost their tour card, like Steve West, when Robert Thornton's had tour card, John Henderson, those type of players. It's a great platform
60.
for them as well to keep that practice up, to keep playing at these levels and in these circumstances.
Yeah, there's the throw. Steve, just something I want to show you on the side
41.
one. So when you use a longer stem, of course, that flight is going to be closer to the face on that pull back there now. It just feels like you throw more of a javelin with a longer dart.
140.
But it will affect the flight of the dart. You know, the stem, whether it's a small stem like Steve's using, and you can see the way the dart just sort of
60.
sits up.
Stephen,
With
you've got
that longer stem, for me,
144.
the way Stefan throws, it's making the dart go very flat. Very straight,
60.
very flat.
But used quite effectively in this leg. But Steve West will be right behind.
140. Stephanie require 84.
Looking for treble 20, so needs the 14s. Made sure, and he's bought.
59.
That's unlucky
Steve
there from
require
Stefan.
90.
And the way Steve's been finishing in this game. Look at the 15s and back to Bull.
65. Stephanie required 25.
Well, great opportunity here for Stefan to get a leg on the board. Act as a bit of a settler. Always goes that 5 for double 10. Yeah, this could be awkward.
20.
Yeah, and I guess that's the problem. We're going the
Stevie
5 double 10
required
route.
25.
The second double is not as inviting.
21. Stephanie required 5.
Not often we see this from Steve West. Affording quite a few opportunities here for Stefan Schroeder. Make sure of the one, which is sometimes the hardest. Leaves double 2.
So what you've got to remember, the balance of that dart will feel different,
Stevie
and that's when you
required 4.
need what you're used to for Stefan Schroeder. That might be the moment that he'll find difficult when he gets to the doubles. Steve gets over the line. He is a perfectionist, so he won't be happy the way that he ended that game there. But for the majority of that match, he just looked really good. 3 180s is good score in there, but knowing Steve like I do, not only did he want to win a game, he's watched Robert Thornton absolutely put a fantastic performance in. But the bottom line, Steve, you've gone back to the top of the group. You sat on 8 points, a 4-0 victory, and that's exactly the way that you want to start the night. Well, Robert Thornton was incredibly good in that first game. He's up again next, and we're going to see for the first time tonight, Dan Lauby.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. And before the break, Steve West got the better of Stefan Schroeder by 4-0. Really good performance off the bat as far as he's concerned, the game being won in 10 minutes flat. Right, last weekend, it was the United States Grand Prix on the Formula One circuit, and we may have just found something just a tad bit quicker than the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Yes, Danny Lauby takes to the jockey now. He takes on Robert Thornton. He's got a fair bit of pace himself. So, Glenn, Law, I hope you're ready because it's lights out and away we throw.
Well, how do I follow that, Laura?
That's quite impressive, that.
I feel like Murray Walker all of a sudden. I've got a Murray Mint here, if that's any good for you. But, yeah, follow that. But, yeah, he is absolutely lightning quick as Dan Lauby, 30-year-old. Sort of based an awful lot
First
now
leg,
in
it's
the
Robert to throw
UK. But
first. Game
has
on.
been still playing in the CNC Championships over in America, but he won't be at Ali Pali based on them rankings this year. That goes to a very
97.
special player in Alex Spellman. We had a bit of a difference of opinion, did myself and Henry Deacon chatting.
57.
Henry Deacon thinks it could be a night for Dan Lauby. He thinks he will qualify. And that it was Robert Thornton he felt was maybe potentially
50.
the one that was in danger, which I just didn't think that was going to happen. And I was delighted to see that Robert, once again produced just another phenomenal
56.
game to win his Open. And he's put himself in a good position. And all of a sudden, Laura, if he can get over the line against Dan Lauby, Robert Thornton sat very, very pretty.
Yeah, I totally agree. And
140.
then all that pressure's back on Dan to find a good performance in his later games. Obviously, this is the
60.
first time we've seen him. Robert's had that, I say warm-up game, but he's had a game on the stage already tonight, but produced a massive average. It's interesting. I had a
100.
quick chat with Danny before the evening started, and yeah, won't be at the PDC, but will be at the WDF, and is staying over here in the UK
81.
until then, playing in some
Oliver,
local ADC tournaments, and
114.
obviously playing here at the Super Series, just keeping the practice up.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how Robert, who does seem to be throwing a little bit
58.
quicker, but he's too experienced to get embroiled in a speedy game. So, I think he'll try to dictate the pace. I think
59.
he'll be slower
Required
in going to the
56.
dartboard. I think he'll be slower maybe in retrieving darts. But with
Game
darts
shot
like
the
that, Robert
first leg.
Thornton
Robert
just looks really,
Thornton.
really good. It's been a very slow start from Dan Lauby, but that's what I always felt when I played a super quick player. Dan
Second against Danny to
Lauby,
throw
Ricky
first.
Evans. You're going to be at the hockey an awful lot of time, and all of a sudden you think, and I'm playing as quick as Ricky and Dan Lauby,
81.
so you just got to take your time. So I used that moment just to take me time to make sure that I was the one dictating the pace and not getting embroiled.
140.
Yeah, and I think we saw that a bit yesterday, perhaps from Robert, from Steve, just playing at their own pace. But
140.
I only get the feeling tonight that Robert Thornton is playing at his own pace, was very quick up to the hockey and in the letting go of the three darts.
81.
Much quicker than yesterday, and doing the same here.
I always felt I was playing better when I had a good rhythm, a good pace. So maybe that's just a good sign for Robert.
180.
And that's an excellent sign for Dan Lauby. Clearly, when that first dart goes, that rat-a-tat-tat, that follows. So a real
100.
FDM, as we call
And
it,
he
a real
required
first
100.
dart merchant.
Game shot
Well,
the
we have
second
been
leg.
spoiled tonight by some
Danny Lauby.
fantastic scoring, some incredible finishing. And Dan Lauby, that 100 just goes right. You can just see
Still
him
against
there.
Robert
He's
to throw first.
just
Game on.
super focused. Just a little nod to himself of appreciation. And this would be a huge win against Robert Thornton.
45.
It'd be interesting to see now going forward how Robert reacts in terms of he is throwing fast, he is going to the hockey quickly, but
100.
that might be good for Robert. He's playing very well, but that's also very good for Danny because that suits his pace so well.
Yeah, you sort of sweat up a little bit more as well because it's
134.
literally you're walking back as Robert and all of a sudden you're back on the hockey again. That's how quick this guy is. He's in the top 3 to 5 players in the world for speed.
$125. $100.
You get the sense that when you do try to just calm the pace down, that might offend Danny. Well, I didn't see any problems when I was slowing a game down. I wasn't never gamesmanship. It was just I didn't want to play at this relentless pace. I just couldn't do it.
Robbie requires 72.
And it's not necessarily, like I say, the actual release stage. It's the approach to the board.
Game shot on the third leg.
Yeah, and that's another good finish there for Robert Thornton. 2-1 up. And already in this early stage.
Fourth leg, it's Danny to throw first.
Now we 1 from 1 and 2 for 3 for Robert Thornton.
100. $83. 57.
It's a scene that we're quite used to see at Robert Thornton, just pacing in the background, chastising himself. He does strive for perfection.
140.
Yeah, when we go to the seniors competition, you know, the pace of the games do really slow down. But I just sense from here that Robert is he's very versatile. He can adapt to someone who's playing very slow. He's adapting very, very nicely to the pace of this game and not to the detriment of his game.
100.
I mean, just on that score there, you know, Robert Thornton is just averaging 99 again, exactly in the first. Just a very enjoyable night so far, full of high quality.
100.
Yeah, I agree. And that was a great last start there from Dan to set himself up on 116. But Thornton's going to be on something better.
138.
Dan has been
116.
Excellent. But I also think this 116 has to go. He's going to get a dart at tops. That
96.
was a huge dart. If that goes, it's 2-2. It's game on. If this goes, it does go. Now you feel it's a real uphill climb for Dan Lowby. Advantage Thornton.
Fifth leg, it's Robert to throw first. Game on.
Yeah, and maintaining those averages just under 100 for Thornton, 94 for Dan, and he is a high standard and a high pace tonight.
Again, we just quickly, and I'm just sort of got one eye on the in-play table. And
180.
And it's a big if based on those three darts. If Robert Thornton does win this match, he moves to 8 points alongside Steve West. And if Fallon Sherrick can beat Stefan Schroeder, there will be a 4-point gap to Dan Lowby then. He would have to be immaculate from then onwards.
$171.
Visit there for Robert Thornton, down to 94 after just 9 in a leg that would see him win the match.
Robbie required 94.
Yeah, he's walked into something very, very special as Dan Lowby. Robert Thornton, from the moment he stepped on the hockey against Fallon Sherrick tonight, he meant incredible business.
32.
And despite the fact he's only scored 32 there, he's been absolutely brilliant so far tonight. And if he can put this 62 to bed, he's looking very, very good for qualification.
60. Robbie requires 62.
And he does. Robert Thornton is on a mission. He fist pumps the win there. Dan Lowby didn't do an awful lot wrong in that game. He just walked into something very, very special in Robert Thornton. When he arrived here tonight, he knew he was playing 2 of the first 3 games. While he's put in 2 averages, round about the same, 99 plus. 4 from 6 on the outer ring. Robert Thornton has been excellent. Lots to think about for Dan Lowby, but he's not out of it just yet. Big game coming up next for Fallon Sherrick. She plays bottom of the table, Stefan Schroeder.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. Well, I, for one, think Robert Thornton is in the mood tonight. 2 4-1 victories, and with 2.99 averages, he's put himself very much in the mix now as far as qualification is concerned. Next up for us, it's Fallon Sherrick in action. She takes on Stefan Schroeder. As far as Sherrick's concerned, she's looking to move her way on to 8 points alongside the Fawn. Right, watching this one in the commentary box. Let's hand back to Laura and Glenn.
Yeah, thank you very much, Henry. Yeah, the table starting to move, starting to take some shape.
First leg,
And
it's
Henry did
Stefan to throw
mention there,
first.
Robert
Game
Thornton
on.
looks like a man on a mission, and it was Robert Thornton that Fallon Sherrick ran into in her opening match, losing that 4 legs to 1. But Schroeder yet to find a
55.
win in this Group B stage. Actually have to go back to Wednesday to find his last win, and that happened to be over none less than Fallon Sherrick.
180.
Yeah, he played David Evans in his final game in his Group A campaign. A very successful Group A campaign
30.
it was for Stefan. But his penultimate game was a 4-3 win over Fallon Sherrick. However, what I would say to that is in the interview I had with Fallon,
41.
I think we've seen 2 different players this week. She didn't look as motivated in Group A. At times you just felt, well, maybe at just times she just lacked that
100.
real intensity. But when she walked in yesterday, I thought she was absolutely terrific last night. And just unfortunately walked in an unbelievable Robert Thornton.
59.
And the cheek of Henry Deacon to say that Robert Thornton's on a mission right now. Just remember, Henry, I'm the top tipster. I said he would. And you fancied Lowby.
36.
And you really do get the feeling this is quite an important one for Fallon Sherrick.
57.
Stefan has been the weakest player of the group. That's no disrespect for him. He just hasn't managed to muster up a win. And
95.
when you do
Fallon
have that one player in a group that
164.
everyone seems to be winning over, you want to be doing the same thing.
Like I said, it's been a real masterclass of finish. And I thought Fallon was going to join the party.
32. Stephanie Require,
What she does is make that 164.32. And this was looking inviting, this 85. It's gone from inviting to a must-hit. It's bullseye. Just doesn't seem to be
60.
finding the
Fallon
doubles tonight,
32.
albeit a big ask is the bull.
Game
It's
shot
not a
on the
big ask for
first
Fallon
leg.
Sherrick.
Fallon
She's
Sherrick.
looking second best of part of that leg, but she just has that real quality at the right time. And
Second leg, it's Fallon to throw first. Game on.
like I said, we feel really spoilt down here at Portsmouth, and sometimes I do miss home when I'm here. So I just want a little shout out, a little naughty shout out to
85.
wish my good friend Les Harrison on his wedding day tomorrow to Kat. I wish I was there, Les, but I'll be at the party next week. And have a fantastic day.
41. $42.
I know this is only the second match, but there just seems to be a few inconsistencies, and we didn't see much reaction from Fallon yesterday, and today we are just getting a few emotions creeping through, and
100.
understandably so. We are getting really to the business end of this group, and every player just fighting for those top 3 spots.
Yeah, we talked about she has a real skill of not being able to
100.
panic in big situations. I mean, you know, what she's done over the past 3 years is incredible. However, you're not human if you go to a competition where sometimes you're not just thinking about the situation. And after
81.
that first defeat to Robert Thornton tonight, she highlighted this game. In a game she's expected to win, but also it does put her in fantastic position, and it just makes the head-to-head with Dan Lowby just
94.
a little bit easier, and she can go into that one a little bit more free-flowing.
Yeah, but it really does put that bit of a cushion.
44.
If Fallon can win that, she will join Steve West, Robert Thornton on 8 points, but Dan will be languishing behind on 4 points with a really tough task next, as he
60.
would face Steve West, who's is the current table topper.
Yeah, see him go to the bull with the last start.
42. Fallon Require 120. 56.
Yeah, nothing Stefan can do on 193, so Fallon will be planning her attack on 64.
58.
And not an awful
Fallon
lot of pressure
requires
coming back from
64.
Stefan. We should look at the 16s and 8 Irish perfectly in the treble.
Game shot on the
And
second
that's
leg.
as clinical as it
Fallon
gets. Fallon
Sherrick.
Sherrick's looking good in this game. Again, she felt and wanted to win and had to win
So look
to
at
put
Stefan
herself
to
on
throw
that 8
first.
points. Of,
Game
have a
on.
little look at the in-play table. Bearing in mind that the player in 4th place has played one less game, is on 4 points. But that is the situation because legs difference is the reason.
45.
I just want to have a little look there. And Steve West looking really good at the top with a game in hand.
96.
Yeah, and as we said, that game in hand will be against Dan Lowby. Real chance for the top 3 if Fallon wins here
57.
to put some distance between themselves and 4th and 5th if Steve West was to get that win over Danny.
100.
Yeah, nothing to separate them on the score. They both
60.
scored 3 tons. Just that 180, the difference for Fallon. But like you said, you can have all the statistics in the world. The most important one is the fact that Fallon is leading this match.
92.
2 legs and looking good in this one. I am a fan of that throw.
80.
He's not a fan of the bounce out.
Now, when things aren't going your way and you get a bounce out like that, you could just see the kind of dejection, the wry smile, because you just think, just not your day.
59.
There's not an awful lot wrong I can see with that. I think now it's just hours
59.
and hours,
Fallon
days and months and years of
154.
practice to master his trade.
$60.
Well, we said Group B is full of quality and it's topped a lot of our boxes. It's also the
43.
noisiest group
Fallon
next door, isn't it?
94.
Yeah, we can hear some yelps and shouts from next door every so often. 6 here.
82. Stepping over 157.
Yeah, no dramas. With Stefan way back on 157. Can be done.
97.
And you have to say that was
Fallon
a
required
perfectly
12.
placed first start. You thought it would be closer with the second.
Game shot on the third leg.
Yeah, and I imagine that was
Fallon
awkward. Looked like a bit of a
Sherrick.
blocker, and I think Fallon probably moved across the oche to get that so great dart there.
Yeah, I think we've been, like I said,
Well, look at
really
Fallon to throw first.
enthralled with a lot
Game
of the
on.
games today. Big averages. You know, Robert Thornton being absolutely exceptional so far. But for me, this game was all about the 2 points for Fallon. And if she can get a
100.
good leg difference also and a 4-0 victory here, that will benefit because her next game, I think, is a really important one. Dan Lowby's got one before the
45.
game, but Fallon's next game will be against Dan Lowby. So we could be looking at that game as a real decider of the 3 that will be qualifying tonight.
81.
Yep, but still business to do here for Sherrick.
59.
We've seen Stefan in this position a couple of times, and it's just quite hard to rally when you're not winning games, and now you kind of fall into that trap of not winning legs.
60.
Yeah, it's testament to him. There's no sulking, there's no mourning, no crying. He's just getting on with it. And I even said, despite the fact he could play 8, lose 8, I think he's enjoyed the challenge. He wanted to know where his game was.
41.
That was the plan of being in Group B. He wasn't interested in maybe going into Group C. He wanted to finish second. He wanted to play the Thorntons, the Sherricks of this world.
60.
I go back to a game I played against Terry Jenkins in my infancy, and I got beat 9-1, 10-1, 9-1, 10-1. But I learned so
93.
much from that game, and I went back and I worked on what I believed I was doing well at that point and what I wasn't doing so well, and I think that's the case for Stefan.
123.
Yeah, I agree. It's a wonderful experience. And Alan Sherrick just a bit unlucky there. Got a bit of deflection into the treble one, but on 77 and comfortable
95.
lead once again.
Annie Maguire, 77.
And we'll have at least 6 from here. Needs tops.
Game
And
shot
there you
of
have
the
it. That
match.
is a 4-0
Fallon
victory
Sherrick.
for Fallon Sherrick. Won 180 in that match, but it is the result, the important result, that puts her on 8 points alongside Robert Thornton and Steve West. 81 average, highest checkout there of 77 and 4 from 6 on the doubles. And coming up next, we will have another important match in this Group B as Dan Lorby takes on Steve West.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where before the break, Fallon Sherrick sealed a 4-0 victory against Stefan Schroeder. So that puts her on to 8 points in the group, which means now it is work to do for Danny Lauby in this one. Well, it's the man from the east coast of the United States of America taking on simply Steve West in our middle match of the evening. Right, it's Laura, it's Glenn in the commentary box to describe this one.
Yeah, thank you, Henry. And obviously on behalf of everyone here at the MODUS Super Series, Henry, a very happy birthday. And hopefully you enjoyed the cake, and just big thanks for everything that you do for us, and have a
First leg,
fantastic
it's
night.
Danny
And
to throw
both players look
first.
very,
Game
very
on.
relaxed on their preparation. Big smiles there from Steve West. But for me, Laura, I just feel this is a must-win for Dan Lowby. Just based on how the
100.
night's gone so far. 3 players sat on 8 points. He's on 4. He has got this game in hand against Steve, but it's a big ask for Dan. But if he has any
43.
aspirations of qualification, for me, he has to win this game.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also think it's
58.
a difficult one. I've just had a quick look at the head-to-heads, and obviously yesterday it was a win for Steve West, but they have played at the MODUS Super Series before, and both of those matches went the way of Steve West as well. Sometimes that can play on your mind. It can be a positive,
100.
can be a negative, but the one thing we do know from that is Steve West does know how to beat Dan.
60.
We said quite a few times yesterday that Dan Lowby, he's got that potential to absolutely fire off some
60.
amazing darts. He is a previous weekly winner here. We just haven't seen enough of it.
59.
Yeah, he's absolutely such a rhythmical player, but you can see Steve doing exactly what I was talking about. He is dictating the pace. You will play this game at my pace.
60.
However, just a caveat to that, you don't want to spoil your own game because you're trying to just get an aspect of the match correct. So he's chattering away to himself. He doesn't want the focus
42.
to be just based on the pace, because, I mean, so far, Steve is top of the table, is looking very good, hasn't been beat since the opening game yesterday. So it's that fine balance and fine margins when you're
135.
in a real duel against another player.
72. Stevie Rockman, 103.
Yeah, good switch there to the treble 18s for Dan. A real chance here for Steve to take an early break. Needs tops.
83. Danny McQuire, 110. Game shot in the first leg. Danny Lowby.
And that's Dan Lowby. And there's the smart from Steve West, because you think to yourself, where's that come from?
Second against
I'll
Steve
tell you
to
where
throw
that's come from.
first.
Dan Lowby
Game on.
knows the importance of this game. He's deep in concentration, focusing very hard. Like I said, hasn't beat Steve West on this stage before.
60.
But the importance of this game might be just the deciding factor for Dan Lowby. That's a wonderful finish, and typical when you get a good finish, and all of a sudden you start finding your scoring
100.
boots. Game on.
You're already, Dan, just doing better than you did yesterday. Actually, went down 4-0 to Steve West. But he did bounce back from that. It was very
45.
impressive, and his 4-2 win was Dan Lowby over Robert Thornton. 91.65 in that, so we know the levels he's got, and neither
40.
playing anywhere near their best at the moment. But it's that all-important leg. That's the one that counts in a race to 4.
140.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to match the former Robert Thornton at the moment.
100.
Robert Thornton, once again, he's up against Stefan Stroden, so he'll have to fancy his chances there. And if Dan Lowby doesn't win this game, then he can only finish on a maximum of 8 points. So them top players will only be
60.
a win away from qualification. That's the importance for Dan Lowby on this match.
140.
Yeah, good visit there. Puts Dan on a 1-2-1 check out, but Steve West, that was a perfect first start for Steve West. Can he follow it again? Good switch.
134. Danny Rick, 121. $97.
Superb from
Stevie
Danny.
requires
Setup plays
62.
really good with that treble 20 there. And these 62 finishes, I always think they're a 50-50. One dart.
42.
This time just goes a little bit low.
Danny
Chance for Dan
requires
Lowby.
24. Game shot on the second
Yeah, and a
leg.
chance well taken.
Danny
Dan
Lowby.
Lowby's 2-0 to the good.
Feel like it's Danny to throw first.
Steve West has had 2 chances to add a double so far.
81.
Hasn't taken any of them, but just get this feeling that needs to up the scoring power, but on both sides.
140.
Yeah, there, a second 140 of the match for Steve West.
59.
Totally different strategies from Steve West and Robert Thornton. Robert Thornton decided to go with the pace of Dan Lowby.
140.
Whereas Steve just taken that 1 or 2 seconds before, probably the route I would have gone down. I didn't like the fact I was always on the
58.
hockey. Maybe that's the thought process for Steve. But if he does go 3-0 down, you may see him just play at his normal pace. Has a nice pace to his game, just Steve West. In fact, it's just one of those groups where
180.
the game just seems to be flying through at the moment.
Yeah, this is an excellent response from
58.
Steve West. Down to
Stevie
41 in
required
just 9
41.
darts, but on for a breaker throw here. 1 for tops.
21.
Yeah, no major damage done there for Steve West, but you see us hang his head there slightly. And
85.
it's just a disappointment. He has
Stevie
missed a few
required
shots now
20.
at the outer ring.
Yeah, I don't anticipate him missing here.
Game shot on the third leg. Steve West.
Like I say, you'll see the history on it for some of these players. But like I said, there's good banter in there. Like I said, the noise in there sounds like they're having a
Steve to throw
rave.
first. Game on.
That was a breaker throw for Steve West.
$121.
I think he can do that sometimes, Steve. Kind of lull you into that idea that he's not quite on all, firing on all
82.
cylinders, not quite finding the scores, and then all of a sudden, boom, 14 dart leg breaker throw.
And if you wanted to get to the elite of dart, I don't think that's enough, Laura. I think them booms have to come in
100.
a lot more of a frequency than they are now. I watched him an awful lot when he played Willie O'Connor at Ali Pally
78.
because I knew I was playing the winner, and part of me during that game was like, I'd rather play Willie because he was just looked so good. Did Dan now, but that I was hoping he would kick on
60.
from there. He's a great guy, really, really personable, very understated, but you just feel there's a real story behind him as well.
59.
Loves his music, but so far this game's just not reaching that crescendo.
140. 140. Stevie require 80.
Yeah, good reply from Dan, but probably not enough there for Steve West. Treble 20 for double 10.
60.
Wouldn't it be typical of
Danny
Lowby?
require
You've got me
142.
saying Lowby now. It's typical of Lowby to check out on something like this.
Yes, I can't help it. Difficult with my name's
94.
Laura not to look at those first 2 letters of his surname. But
Stevie require 20.
Well, I didn't anticipate him to miss it last time. However, this time Dan Lowby is right behind him, and now it's difficult. This is a big dart,
10.
and he's not up to the
Danny
challenge. The
require
head shake
48.
tells you that, and this is a chance for Dan Lowby. It'll be rapid. It's double top. It was a big
Game
dart
shot
that
on
he
the fourth
didn't miss,
leg.
Steve West.
Danny Lowby.
But for Dan Lowby, he gets there in the end with that double top. They're big moments because that was looking very, very good for 2-2.
Fifth leg, it's Danny
And all
to
of a
throw
sudden,
first.
Dan Lowby is
Game
3-1 up. He is getting himself right back in the mix because he is then only 2 points behind those top 3. It's getting
84.
very, very interesting, Laura.
really is, and it's been Lowby's finishing that's really saved him. Check-out percentage at 50% for Dan Lowby, but Steve West just on 9-1 from 11.
$60.
And I'd fancy Danny's chances in the last game of the night for me would play Stefan. just means the game. Dan Lowby versus Fallon Sherrick. That's going to be a huge game.
Yeah, and I'm also salivating
125.
slightly of the game after that, which is Steve West, Robert Thornton.
60.
Really have been and will be treated to some amazing matches tonight.
$140.
Steve really has found some scoring power. That's his 6th 140 compared to Dan just hitting the 2.
100. Steve, you require 96. $56.
He got away with the last dart there, but he was absolutely changing his mind as he was bringing the dart back. But thankfully for Steve,
59.
Dan is
Steve, you
probably
require 40.
out of this leg of dart. It would be a break, a throw again for
Game shot
Steve
the
West.
5th leg.
He's not
Steve
out of this
West.
match just yet because he will have the throw you to take it all the way. And penny for your thoughts, Dan Lowby.
6th leg, it's Steve to throw first. Game on.
Yeah, and I imagine after the disappointment there for Steve missing so many darts to level the match at 2-2 and allow Dan to go in that 3-1 lead
85.
was a very convincing shot at tops to make it 3-2. And now it's game on once again.
Yeah, you could see from that camera angle there, Danny was deep in
180.
thought, and that's what he was thinking there. Just let me get to that Rocky. Just let me get my scoring boots going. That's a good response from Steve West.
140.
However, Dan Lowby with that 180.
57.
Just then he goes trebleless, and that's what we're trying to do. He went from a big favourite in this leg, and that's how these games can change. And all of a sudden now Steve West is looking really good to take this match all the way.
180. 140.
Yeah,
Steve, you
again,
require
good reply,
96.
but 96 again here for Steve West. Interesting to see if he goes double-double again. No, so 88.
Game shot in the
Yeah,
6th
we're getting
leg.
spoiled tonight, aren't we?
Steve West.
Another fantastic finish. We were looking at double-double, but after missing the board this time, that treble
7th and
20
final leg is
double
Danny
8.
to throw first. Game on.
But Dan Lowby is still favourite. He's thrown first, and what a start.
140.
Yeah, how much he would have liked to have seen that last one go in, but great start on the darts. Yeah, and despite that
100.
disparity in the averages, 95 for Steve, 82 there for Dan, but it's 3 apiece, and that's what matters, and that is
180.
amazing timing there for Dan.
Absolutely. And like I said, we've tried to get that point across. As you can see this brilliance from Danny. For me, it's just not often enough.
45.
But this would be a super, super win for Dan Lowby. Look what he can do.
Yeah, you've implied that he's got these levels.
130.
We just don't see them enough. But if you're going to find them, 3 apiece with Steve West is the perfect time to do it.
140.
Well,
Danny McCoy,
we
51.
labelled it a must win for Dan Lowby.
31.
He will be back, but what pressure will he be under? Steve's set of play has been very good these last couple of days.
98. Danny required 20.
Destructive
Game
Danny in
shot
that
and the
final leg.
match.
The ups
Danny
and downs of Dan
Lowby.
Lowby continues. Absolutely brilliant at times and really struggling for big scores. But he's very, very much in the mix. It was a good game, and when you look at the averages there, you think there was only one winner. Just maybe some missed doubles from Steve West will frustrate early doors. Again, another masterclass of finish, 110 from Dan Lowby, that beautiful 96 from Steve West. But it's very much game on, and the big games just keep on coming. As after the break, it's Robert Thornton versus Stefan Schroeder.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. We made it through to the halfway stage of our evening action. It's been quick fire, quick pace, and it's been very good as well. Laura Turner alongside me up here on the balcony to assess what we've seen so far. And it's kind of been everything that we expected from this group. It's been fast, it's been furious, and we've seen some amazing stuff tonight.
Yeah, really have been treated. We did build it up. We did think it was going to be, finishing a very big high in Group B, and not been disappointed yet. And we've still got some salivating matches to come. So it's still going to be hard to pick who are the top three going through.
Well, this is the tail of the tape as far as the evening is concerned. Robert Thornton really been the player of the night, 2 4-1 victories to kickstart his campaign. Elsewhere, where it's kind of been a case of 1 win, 1 loss for the other players, Stefan Schroeder's still yet to get his first victory on the board, yet to get a leg on the board as far as this evening is concerned. But let's have a look at the story of the night. And there's only one place really we can start, and that's with Robert Thornton, who has come out here with a real statement to make, hasn't he? 299 averages, and first leg weren't bad.
Yeah, and when you put this into context, it was the opening leg, and Fallon sat there on 36, and then just absolutely from nowhere, this 170 checkout, and then again, just to win the match, takes out 44, but it was just so accomplished, and really playing at quite a rapid pace as well. It's been very exciting to watch, and quite hard to keep up at times.
That's been the story of the group here in Group B. There's Thornton seeing the victory against Daniel Albee. Now, that was a little bit quick, it has to be said. But I suppose, Robert, we've spoken about his record here. He's so good at qualifying, and he wants to get that little bit of that little bit of a chip off the shoulder, doesn't he, here?
Well, yeah, and he's never failed to make it through to that Saturday night finals, as we've mentioned before. So, yeah, he's got that kind of reputation to live up to, but I do think it's just that title that he wants. He wants to make it through and then make it through to Champions Week, because he's yet to do that.
Steve West's story of the evening has kind of been a case of power scoring for fun, but maybe at times you could say he's been a little bit fallible when it comes to the finishing.
Yeah, and I think that last match against Dan, that is an absolute testing case of what you've just said there, because he had opportunities. He could have been 2-0 up, found himself 2-0 down, and then became a bit of an uphill struggle, and just couldn't quite convert those legs, and it resulted in a loss.
So this is a compilation of Steve West's maxims this evening. Now, he holds the record for most 180s in the Super Series and Series 5 in a weekly campaign. He had 40 in his first attempt. In matter of fact, he holds the record in 2 of the 3 series that he's played in. That just demonstrates what he can do in abundances.
Yeah, it really doesn't surprise me, because in an earlier match tonight, he hadn't hit any tons. He hadn't hit any ton 40s, but he'd hit 3 180s. And it's just that point that when that first start goes well for Steve, he knows how to follow it through. And there, just against Dan, just a perfect example of what he can do. It was just that one match there, just couldn't find the doubles. And we haven't seen too much of that from Steve, but hopefully won't be too worried, because he's still on those 8 points.
Why do you think he's settled so well into this format of the Super Series?
He's confident. He knows, trust in his ability. He knows what he can do, and he's a proven winner here. He's won in the 2 series that he's been to. He's made it through to Champions Week, and he wants to do it again, and he's going the right way about it.
He most certainly is. Right, this is how the table looks at the halfway stage of the night. Steve West, Robert Thornton, Fallon Sherrick, all on 8 points. There's still a theoretical scenario this evening where all 4 players at the top of the table could finish tied on points. Daniel Albee down there on 6 points, so it's all up in the offing. Now, I need to make a public service announcement here at the MODUS Super Series, because in the last game, Glenn Dowett may have said that it was my birthday today. Now, I can confirm that that is not true, because it's not my birthday. I think I'd like to know when my birthday is. Let's just say that he was putting a bit of a prank earlier on.
Well, I don't know. There was cake, there was candles, there was definitely a happy birthday song, and you did obligingly blow out a candle. So, I mean, everyone can draw their own conclusions.
And even if it was my birthday, Glenn Dowett, well, the reputation of the tightest man in darts is true, because that's all he bought me for my birthday. Have a look at that. No cake, no nothing. Just a chocolate bar. Right, let's move on then to the action, shall we? Champions Week is almost upon us here at the Super Series, and one man is out to take the title.
Well, Pilgrim's done everything this week, hasn't he? You wouldn't know if he was 3-1 up or down, and that's a real testament to his character. And that's 5 180s.
180. Wow, and wow again. I just well make it 6, Daryl. Whoa!
Staggering. Most important dart on a 9-darter for me. He's on for it. It's double 18.
It's
the perfect 9-darter. He's been threatening all day. Daryl Pilgrim. What a sensational finish.
MODUS Super Series HQ.
180.
For the match. And record-breaking darts. Double 16. It's
Game
destructive.
shot and the
It's
match.
Daryl Pilgrim with a
Daryl
record
Pilgrim.
average here at the MODUS Super Series of 122.69. Have it. And welcome back to the MODUS Super Series as we just saw a little VT there of a big favourite for next week in Daryl Pilgrim. It just gives you goosebumps just watching back that 9 dart to that 120 plus average. He's going to take some beating next week. But it's Group B time here at week 12. And Robert Thornton from his final game last night against Falinchek and the opening 2 games tonight, well, there's not many players out there that
Perfect,
can really
Robert to
tackle
throw
someone like
first.
Daryl Pilgrim. But if
Game
Robert
on.
Thornton could get to Champions Week, he has the nous, he has the knowledge, he has the experience and talent that could take him all the way. And he's been
99.
absolutely brilliant tonight. But the biggest fear in this game for me is Stefan, is overlooking Stefan. When you're seeing an opponent who's not necessarily struggling, he's playing around about the
28.
averages he was doing in that Group A campaign. He's just playing 4 quality players. So it's the focus and the desire for Robert Thornton.
180.
That kind of dart just shows what he's doing tonight. What I would say, Laura Turner, who's joined me back in the commentary boxes, Stefan Shaw has gone back to the
40.
smaller stem.
Yeah, you did question it earlier, and I think when you're going for treble 20s, you know, even with a different setup, not so much of an
52.
issue. It's when you're going for the outer ring, when you're going for those clutch finishes, those important checkouts, that's when you really do notice the difference. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he's reverted back to the shorter stem.
Yeah, it's been almost the perfect night for Robert Thornton so
100.
far.
Required 170.
He's been here before, but not this time.
100.
I want to think, any thoughts that Robert Thornton was going to come up here and potentially underestimate Stefan? He's down to 70 after just 12. It just
44.
really does
Robbie
seem
required
like he's
70.
got a target and he's going for it.
It just has to move, but now we can see all that
Game
double
shot
tops,
the
and that's
first
the
leg.
reason why
Robert
he
Thornton.
can make that judgment in a split second. He was about to throw it for tops and realised he could barely see the left-hand side,
Second
the
leg,
right-hand
Stefan
side
to
of the
throw
tops.
first.
So you just
Game
move
on.
to the right, and all of a sudden you've got an open bed, albeit you're thrown from a different angle. But he's done it so many times in his career. And it's 1-0 to
100.
Thornton, 15 darter. Looking good, Laura, isn't he?
Yeah, he's looking very good. And back in the red bit once again.
121.
Yeah, and even then, kicking off with a 1-2-1 and still doesn't look quite happy. I know that is part of his game.
41.
He likes to kind of chastise himself, likes to fire himself up, strives for perfection.
85.
Yeah, he's an enjoyable watch because, you know, sometimes I watch games involving Robert Thornton and you're more watching him when he's not throwing his darts because the arms are in the air, the head shaking's going on. And that's only when he hits a 180.
100.
Yeah, 170 check out. Oh, could have done better.
He's about as ungrateful as Henry Deacon for his birthday.
Yeah, I did step up to your defence
58.
then. I can only say
proud
what
of you.
you know, the evidence was there. What can we say?
I was proud of your partner.
100.
I thought the fact that you would have actually bought him a Mars bar was less believable.
Well, I want my money back. I got it on sale or return.
100.
But
Stefan
right
required
now, Robert Thornton
160.
won't be returning anywhere right now because he's just right in the moment. He's just in that zone right now. However, this is the best leg from Stefan tonight. Does find the treble 20 with the last dart. That leaves a 2 darter to come. And Thornton can't finish. So come on, Stefan.
99.
Show the type
Stefan
of form you
requires
have shown
60.
us during the week. Group B hasn't gone your way, but the talent doesn't go anywhere. Sometimes the belief can.
40. Robbie
Yeah,
required
that was
38.
very unlucky. You could see from that angle, even Stefan himself had to duck down. And Robert Thornton now on 38. Goes inside, so offers Stefan another
22.
opportunity. And Stefan
Stefan,
yet
you
to mark
require
up a
20.
leg tonight. I just think for him it'd be great to just get that leg on the board. Hopefully act as a bit of a settler for him.
Game shot on the second leg.
Hands in the air for
Stefan
Stefan.
Schroeder.
Once again, just the fact he's shown some respect to Robert. I do go back to their interview where
Third
I
leg,
think it
it's
was a
Robert
real
to throw
delight he's
first.
playing
Game
Robert
on.
Thornton. You just sense that in the interview that we had. He's a very likeable man, is Stefan. Speaks very, very well.
98.
But no eye contact at all from Robert Thornton. Straight back in onto the board. Like I said, it's a big game for him just not to
41.
overlook Stefan.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that reaction there from Stefan, actually, I would have thought that was quite lovely because I think it was less to do with Robert Thornton and more to do with the fact that that's the first leg he's won throughout the night. But like you
59.
say, just the respectful hand up afterwards, just to say, sorry, not about you, more about me.
140.
Yeah, and I just think them darts are sitting up better.
100.
Yeah, I guess we do see players, different horses for horses, as they say, but they do tweak with that setup. But
180.
not quite sure that the setup he had earlier was doing him any favours because this is much better.
Yeah, I'm a big believer. It's you, not
44.
the darts. People going out
Stephen,
buying new sets of darts. For me,
140.
doesn't make it a better player. So it's just the fact he's losing games and just trying out more out of desperation more than anything. In a decent position in this leg.
60.
80 points away from a 2-1 lead.
$100.
Yeah, and a
Stephen,
really
you
good
require
chance
80.
here to threaten the Thornton throw. Single 20 for tops.
Game shot on the third
Yeah,
leg.
and this is much
Stefan
better from
Schroeder.
Stefan Schroeder.
Yeah, a term you used earlier today, Laura, which I'll go back to. This would be a real
Look at
spoiler.
Stefan to throw first.
Would have
Game
been
on.
extremely unexpected because by far the best player so far has been that man in your picture. And all of a sudden you do. It's not the fact that Stefan's beaten him.
85.
It's the fact that Stefan's on 0 points and you start saying to yourself, isn't it typical that he's playing well against me?
121.
Thornton's got a lot of experience, but we have seen him get embroiled in a few matches. That example yesterday did lose 4-2
81.
to Dan Lorby.
You talk too posh for me.
100. $100.
Yeah, that throw does look better with a shorter stem, if he wants my honest opinion. But here comes Thornton.
140.
What Stefan would give for a maximum right now. When you see 2, 3, 5, you're thinking about potential using the bullseye with the last dart. I said, imagine what a 180 would do.
180. Robbie Rick, 140.
I think he was listening to me. He's 2 darts away from a 3-1 lead. A seriously big shock and huge implications
60.
to this Group B. If Stefan Schroeder can hit this
55.
and potentially be 1 leg away from a famous win.
45. Robbie require
Yeah,
80.
not far away, but massive opportunity come and gone as Thornton now stares down double 10.
60.
Just the wrong side of the wire. And there you can see that reaction
Stefan
from
require
Thornton.
10.
This leg is not over just yet. That's how dart players feel about double 5. And that's the reason why it's only going to be 1 dart at a double. But that's
Game
all
shot
he
on the
needs.
fourth
Fair
leg.
play to you, Stefan Schroeder.
Stefan Schroeder.
That takes some bottle to do that. You're sat on 0 points. You're looking at the rest of them absolutely flying.
Fifth
It
leg,
can
it's
be a
Robert
lonely
to throw
place in that
first.
player's
Game
area. You
on.
get on that stage again. His head's never went down once. And that's really, really good to see. He's got many, many qualities as Stefan.
96.
This would be a huge win in his career. You just get that
121.
belief, Laura, don't you, when you get a big win under your belt, that he goes back and says, I can beat Robert Thornton. you know, the task he's got to do now is how do I do it again and again and
180.
again.
Yeah, if we could bottle that thought process, that feeling, we'd be very rich people, but just the confidence it can breed,
60.
just carry you up to that next level. Robin Thornton on throw, quite comfortable, just under 100 points ahead plus these.
96.
Yeah, he's looking very comfortable in this leg. But it is with his darts. So I'm sure already he's thinking about the next one because he's going to have to break Stefan if he's going to win this game.
140. Robbie, 129.
He's double 12.
105.
Yeah, we're stepping back on 180. Thornton will be back, but as we say, he wanted to finish that off there and then.
40.
Yeah,
Robbie
no pressure on this double 12
24.
now.
Game shot on the 5th leg. Robert Thornton.
Game on huge leg of darts coming up for Stefan Schroeder. It's also just a little bit quieter in the players area.
See if they get
They're
Stefan to
watching
throw
their
first.
game as
Game
much as
on.
they'll all love Robert Thornton, especially as Steve West, who they were really best friends on the professional circuit. But deep down, it would do them
60.
a huge favour if Stefan can get over the line against Robert.
Yeah, of course, with the game coming up after this is Danny Lauby against
60.
Fallon Sherrick. And again, that could, a win for Danny would put them all on 8 points if Stefan was to win here, and really would put the cat amongst the pigeons.
43.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the next game thinking that's surely the biggest game to come, and then you see the game after that. I hope you're staying with us and watching this. It's a classic end
100.
to a fantastic Group B so far. I've really thoroughly enjoyed this.
100. $95.
Just puts him slightly ahead, but one or two trebles here from Stefan. He's just
40.
getting to that business end and can't quite find it again.
Yeah, you seem to forget when you're starting to win. You actually forget how to see out games. And
86.
at 3-1, he was looking good, but fair play to Thornton after. But all of a sudden, Thornton's not only favourite for this leg, he's favourite for the match because he would have the darts in the last leg.
59. Robbie, require 160. $60.
It's almost like Schroeder just got that little injection of adrenaline after winning that first leg. As we said, it was the first leg of the night for him and carried that through in the next couple, and now just edging it
60.
ever closer to the
Robbie,
finishing
require
line, and
100.
seems to just be wearing off.
Yeah, it's been a very poor leg from Stefan, and that will frustrate when he looks back. That
Game
finish won't
shot on the
frustrate
6th
Thornton,
flag.
though. You can see his
Robert
reaction.
Thornton.
He was up against it, a 3-1 down. But sometimes you've just got something inside you when you look at his
7th and
CV.
final leg. It's Robert
He's a
to throw
major winner, a
first.
world master,
Game
a
on.
world seniors world champion, a UK Open champion, Grand Prix champion. You don't get that just because of skill and talent. You're just born with something, is my opinion. At 3-1 down, he just come to the fore, didn't he?
180.
And it was a total opposite to Stefan. He just seemed to freeze a little bit when he began to see victory.
Yeah, and I love the fist bump there from Robert
93.
Thornton. Still got that competitiveness, still striving for perfection. And I think after that first 180,
93.
automatically thinking towards getting that second one, and that magical 141 check out for a 9.
Yeah, a couple of 99 averages to start tonight, Robert.
59.
And I thought the story was going to be the fact that he faltered against the player that is yet to register a win in this Group B campaign.
48.
I don't think he'll worry too much. He's left 180, which is a nice number to leave. You're thinking of a 140 there to leave his beloved tops. And even that 180 doesn't leave a finish for
180.
Stefan, but it keeps this match very interesting. It does now.
45.
It really does now. What can Stefan Schroeder leave? Because Robert Thornton on 135, that's not an easy checkout.
119.
Well,
Robbie require 135.
Sometimes you get some stories in a match, and I think this has had absolutely everything. The only thing missing is a special finish.
110.
Yeah, an audible cry there from
Seven,
Robert
require
Thornton.
50.
An audible silence in the players' area next door. Big moments in this match. Big moments in this Group B.
30.
And it's not to be.
Robbie,
Falls
you
at the
require 25.
final hurdle. Robert Thornton. Has he got away with one? Yes, he
Game
has.
shot
What a
on the
game.
match.
What a player.
Robert
But fair play to
Thornton.
Stefan Schroeder. He's got a big smile on his face because he has that much respect for Robert Thornton. But he went through it there, did Robert. You felt he'd done all the hard work in his first couple of games, and he was second best for an awful lot. He packed Stefan, but there's an awful lot of relief there for Robert Thornton. A huge win in the end. It wasn't about the averages, albeit once again he registers another 90-plus average, another 100 checkout in that game. Robert Thornton got away with one. He sits top of the table. Another huge game coming up. It's Danny Lauby against Fallon Sherrick.
Before the break, Robert Thornton got the better of Stefan Schroeder in a last leg decider 4-3. That's his third victory of the night. That puts him on to 10 points. Next up for us, it's Fallon Sherrick against Danny Lauby. This must win territory as far as the American is concerned. If Fallon Sherrick wins this one, well, she is in a very good position, as is Steve West. Big times coming up. Glenn Laura.
Yes, the big games keep on coming, Henry. And Fallon Sherrick against Dan Lowry was a
First
game I
leg,
was
it's
looking
Danny
at
to
earlier.
throw
And
first.
Dan Lowry was
Game
really
on.
struggling at one point, but a big win over Steve West. It's put him really back in contention. When you think that Dan Lowry's last game
60.
is against Stefan Schroeder, you would really fancy him to win that game. I just think that this makes this game extra special, extra important.
99.
He's gone from a real outsider, Danny, but that one win over Steve West, it just really brought him back into contention. I'm not sure I can pick a winner on this
93.
one, Laura.
No, I agree. I think we're saying that on most of these matches. Depends on the version of the player that turns up. And we've seen different versions
80.
of both players throughout the evening.
$59.
Yeah, one thing that won't happen is panic from Fallon Sherrick. The in-play table is really
60.
interesting right now. Just a sensational night so far for Robert Thornton. Steve West is very much in the mix without being at his brilliant best.
140.
And Fallon Sherrick can put herself in an incredible position as we start to think about the permutations of qualifications. But someone like Fallon will
81.
just be
Danny
focusing on the game.
149. $89.
You would say Robert Thornton did survive a bit of a scare in that last match against Stefan Schroeder. And then when you look at the match afterwards, Steve West,
100.
Robert
Danny
Thornton.
requires 60.
Yeah, when we look at the point, if as Dan Lowby looks at tops, that's a little bit wild, but it takes his time to go back in the spot he wants to go to.
40.
And it just felt
Danny
he
requires
needed to be
81.
immaculate tonight. You don't want to give Fallon Sherrick any chance. That's not too bad. She's going to get a dart double, you feel. 51 left. And that dart double will be double 16.
65. Danny
He's got
requires
away with
20.
one here.
Game shot the
Lowby
first
leads
leg.
1-0 in a
Danny
must-win
Lowby.
match for Dan Lowby. If he was to lose this game, he would remain on 6 points. It would mean that he couldn't catch
Second
Robert
against Fallon to
Thornton.
throw first.
And
Game.
Fallon Sherrick would also move to 10 points. And with Steve West up against Robert Thornton next. And the big leg difference between Steve West and
180.
Dan Lowby. It would be looking good for them three for qualification.
177.
Yeah, but what a start to this second leg from both players. 180 for Fallon Sherrick, 177, but Fallon
135.
following up with a 135.
Yeah, this has been an outstanding group.
140.
Played at a beautiful pace. And that combination of really big scoring and some sensational finishing, including the big fish as well for Robert Thornton.
56.
But are we just beginning to put together the qualifiers? Well, Dan Lowby is the one who seems to be on the move right now.
168.
It just takes him a space of 2 to 3 seconds to go from a potential win of a leg to a favourite for
84.
the leg.
Danny
Dan Lowby wants
16.
double 8 to lead 2-0.
Game shot in the second leg.
Yeah, indeed he does.
Danny Lowby.
And there you see the averages, 103.66 for Dan.
Third against
94
Danny
for
to
Fallon
throw
Sherrick.
first.
Hasn't done a great deal wrong, Fallon Sherrick, but Dan's just finding that range at the right time.
134.
Dan Lowby, I have to say, I would fancy him to beat Stefan Schroeder in his final game. He could go to the 10
59.
points then. We're getting to the realms of potential possibility of all players ending up on 10 points.
59.
But a Lowby victory here, I think he becomes a favourite to qualify.
96.
Yeah, then you really think it could all come down to that very final match, which is Fallon Sherrick against Steve West.
57.
Yeah, Steve West has got the legs in the bank. He's on +10 at the moment. Fallon Sherrick in play at this stage is on +2. And Dan Lowby on
84.
-1. But that would change, of course, if Dan Lowby was to win this game. You just sense that every leg count. Never mind every match,
100.
Laura. Every leg counts at the moment.
Well, yeah, even at this stage, if Fallon Sherrick was to suffer defeat, still would want the deficit to be as small as possible.
140. Danny Rock, 151.
So Sherrick will be back for a 1-2-2, which would be for a
57.
break of throw. We have
Fallon
seen
Rock,
some exceptional finishing, and
122.
she did pin that 1-4-4 at a perfect time yesterday against Dan.
$36. Danny Rock, 194.
$75 left for double 12.
Game shot in the
Rapid.
third leg. Danny Lowby.
And Fallon just chats away to herself, but absolutely fair play to Dan Lowby.
Fourth leg, it's
I
Fallon to
pretty
throw
much had him
first.
written off
Game
as he
on.
walked on the stage against Steve West. But he won that game 4-3. I felt that Fallon was still a favourite for this game. I tell you what, right at this moment, I'd rather be in
81.
Dan Lowby's shoes than Steve's and Fallon's. They've still got a huge games to come. Steve West has still got to play
56.
Robert Thornton and Fallon Sherrick. We're going down to the wire.
Yeah, I agree. And also, Dan found himself 3-1 up
180.
against Fallon Sherrick yesterday, and Fallon Sherrick pinned an amazing 1-4-4 and completely turned the match around. She'll be looking for that kind of inspiration, but
140.
Dan really does seem to have the bit between his teeth. But we know what Fallon can do when her back's against the wall. When she's under that pressure, she
100.
just manages to find and dig out those shots.
$44. Fallon, you require 140. $92. $57. Fallon, you
So
require
opportunity for
48.
this fourth leg here for Fallon Sherrick. 16 leaves the double.
32.
Yeah, you can see the frustration because in this position, you don't want your opponent to just
92.
creep up
Fallon, you require
behind you. And
16.
can't afford to keep missing the doubles.
She's got ice through those veins.
Game shot on the fourth
And
leg.
that's why nothing
Fallon
seems to phase her.
Sherrick.
It's still a very tall ask. And Dan Lowby's a big
Fifth leg,
favourite
it's
for a
Danny
couple of
to throw
reasons, Laura.
first.
Even if it does go the distance, it's Danny's dart in 2 of the next 3 legs. He just seems to start these legs
180.
so well. He's really found his zone and he's making the game look ridiculously easy. And if we go to tomorrow night and Danny's there, he's just got that type of personality,
60.
that type of game, that explosiveness, where surely a Saturday night must really suit him.
57.
I think it was very tight with Dan's win over Steve West. It was 3-3, and then from absolutely out of nowhere, 140, 180. And again, Dan here kicking off with a 180. Hasn't quite followed it up
96.
the same way, but still has the advantage.
$40. $58.
6 starts from 2-2-4. And he's back in the treble 20 bed.
140.
This is an exceptional performance. I don't even think the average read does it justice. 6-140s in this game. His scoring power's there. 3 from 5 on the outer ring for Danny.
60.
but it's just about him.
And he required 84.
Questions were asked when he stepped on the hockey against Steve West previously. He got through that.
76.
He just had a dart for the match. Luckily, it hit the 14 and gone in double 4. And Fallon is way back on 227.
140. Danny
Yeah, a little
required
bit of pressure
8.
on this for Danny. Did miss match winning opportunities against her yesterday, but
Game
doesn't
shot
today.
and
And that is
Danny
a
Lowby.
4-1 victory for Danny Lowby over Fallon Sherrick. And that really does make the table very, very interesting indeed. 3 players all sat on 8 points, with Robert Thornton at the top on 10. You can see the averages there, a 92 average for Dan Lowby and a 57% checkout rate. Very, very good stuff indeed. But another blockbuster next as we have Steve West taking on Robert Thornton.
Geez, that was sickly quick, wasn't it, before the break? Danny Lowby, Fallon Sherrick, 5 legs, less than 10 minutes. A 4-1 win for Danny Lowby, 92 average for him, all told, including the 10 darter in there as well. Moves him on to 8 points alongside Steve West and Fallon Sherrick. Robert Thornton is the man who occupies top spot in the table. He takes on Steve West. It's the final game of the night for the Fawn. As for West, well, he's only halfway through his night. Glenn, Laura, all yours.
Thank you very much, Henry. The big game just keep
First
on
leg,
coming
it's
in.
Steve to throw
I don't know if
first.
fun's the right
Game
word, but me
on.
and Laura were just looking at potential, what could happen. And we did sort of mention right at the beginning of the night where there is a scenario where we could have 4 players finish on 10 points. The fact
57.
that Stefan is going to end up on 0 points if he does lose to Dan Lowby. it would mean something like if Steve West beats Thornton,
81.
Lowby does beat Stefan, and then Fallon beats West. Then it's carnage, Laura.
Yeah, it is. And the amazing thing, we've got 3 games left, and no one is guaranteed a place into that into that finals night tomorrow as yet. Robert Thornton arguably in the best position on 10 points, but as you alluded to, there are
59.
another 3 players that can join him on those points, and then it all comes down to leg difference. And I hope you've got your fingers, your toes, your abacus and everything out, because it could get complicated.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated as we go along, but please stay with us. This has been a exhilarating group here. We did sometimes, when you build it up, there's always the fear that it ends up in a bit of an anticlimax, but I think you've got 4 players who are playing really well. They can look back and think, in normal circumstances, that have qualified comfy from the group, but
95.
it was labelled the group of death. And we're getting right to the end of it, and again, none the wiser. Laura, which 3 players are going to qualify?
Steve, you require 151.
No, absolutely not. So we've had twists and turns, and we still could possibly have some more. I mean, we've really celebrated how Robert Thornton has played today, but statistically still not 100% through to tomorrow's finals night.
Robert Thornton has built his game on intensity. You can see the snarl. You can see the arms moving about, flailing around. You're watching behind. However, he's playing probably one of his best friends on the tour. I think it's really important that he keeps that snarl to himself. It's tough when you're playing a friend.
33. Robbie McCall, 161.
But this 161 would be special. It would be very special. Is that the 170?
36. Stevie
wide away
40.
from a 161. Another good game in the making here.
Game shot on the first leg.
Yeah, but no messing there for West. Simply Steve West simply pinning that tops and taking the opening leg.
Second leg, it's Robert to throw first. Game on.
And as we touched on the last one, not even every match means every leg. You can see things changing in the in-play table. It's really exciting. Some finale. You do play less games in Group B, Laura, but surely this is going to be taking a lot out of these players mentally for tomorrow night as well. I mean, physically they'll be fine. They're used to playing for many, many hours, but mentally, when it's so tight,
it's exhausting. It's a level of concentration you have to have, because you know you're now at that stage that one slip could mean that all that hard work that you've put in over the last 2 nights, and for some of them, all the way back since Monday, can all get undone so simply.
Yeah,
and there's that trademark 180 that we mentioned earlier from Steve West. Amazing timing, leaves him on 90 and
97. Steve
Thornton just not able to find a real answer. So Steve West here, 90 required. That leaves him the ball.
65. Robbie McCall, 104.
Yeah, Robert Thornton might not know this, but this double top would put him through to Saturday night. Robert Thornton is the next player to qualify for tomorrow night's final. He needed 1 leg going into this match.
Look at Steve to throw first. Game on.
The Steve West win here would also see him through.
120.
Legs difference could be key.
$60.
Yeah, well, I guess it's one of those things that you can kind of rely on, isn't it? Is Robert Thornton plays in a week and makes it through to the final on the Saturday. Amazing achievement, and how I'm sure he would love to make it through to Champions Week as well.
140.
Yeah, there's just something about Robert Thornton at the moment. He knows how to get there on Saturday night. There was a part of yesterday where I was thinking
100.
He could be the odd one out, but I think he's been terrific. I tell you what, all goes well as well for the next couple of months.
140.
I'm sure he's got one eye on retaining his World Seniors title as well. And he knows he's in good form.
60. Robbie McGuire, 161. $49. Stevie McGuire,
Often hear
161.
him telling himself off. Heard the call of Robert. Treble 17.
78. Robbie McGuire, 112.
Yeah, needed the treble for double 16, but
88.
great switch there.
Stevie McGuire, 83.
So starting treble 17. So it's going to be a 16 bull for Steve West.
58.
Width of a
Robbie
wire.
McGuire, 24. Game show.
Well,
the
you couldn't get
third
any
leg.
closer with the first two,
Robert
and sometimes you can
Thornton.
throw a dart maybe too well. But that final one, he just used the first two darts.
Fourth leg, it's
They were on a
Robert
pinhead, and Robert Thornton,
Game on.
who's already qualified, couldn't put a huge dent in the qualification process for Steve West.
97.
He has got those legs in the bank, has Steve West. But if he was to lose this game, that last match with Fallon Sherritt is going to be...
57.
It's going to be huge. Or can Stefan Schroeder put it all to bed and play that spoiler? But what we can
57.
confirm at this moment, Laura, David Evans from Group A, Justin Hood from Group B, Reece Colley from Group B, and Robert Thornton are the guaranteed
100.
ones so far. But still, another two places to follow.
And I think the
57.
match between the next match between Stefan and Danny has that really interesting dynamic. I think Schroeder played probably one of his best games of Group B in his last one against Thornton.
140.
He has got a real opportunity to play that spoiler, but not just that. Finish on a high, get that win in the group that's eluded him so far.
140. $134. Robbie McGuire, 150.
Finely balanced. Can't be done for Thornton, so West has a chance. And it's for that breaker throw
89.
he's searching for.
Stevie McGuire, 70.
When you're on 70, you're thinking you're going to get at least one dart of double. And that dart of the double will be double top. It doesn't move.
30.
And once again, the width of a wire. We
Robbie
said the same
McGuire,
about his dart of
61.
bullseye in the previous. Can Thornton hurt him again?
18 for tops.
Game show the
and that
fourth
does
leg.
hurt Steve West.
Robert Thornton.
On the cusp of making it 2 apiece, and now Robert Thornton leads 3-1. Just the one leg
Fifth leg, it's
needed.
Steve to throw first.
And he would move
Game
on to 12 points and guarantee himself a place at the top of the table.
100. $137. $59.
Yeah, I thought that first start there was perfect for Robert
85.
Thornton. Just couldn't quite follow it through.
I've been super impressed with Robert Thornton. Didn't think for one day that Steve West would be looking over his shoulder, but these are nervous times for Steve.
100.
Like I said, the one thing he had was those legs difference. That could still come back and save him.
99.
This then comes to the part, doesn't it, where you're kind of reliant on other results and other players to either slip up or do you a favour, but that most certainly does Steve
180.
West a favour.
Yeah, could be a scenario. We'll see how this one sees out first, because
80.
that was very nearly putting all the pressure on Steve West with the 140
Stevie
there.
McQuine,
Not as
62.
much pressure on the 62, but plenty of it. 29 left. He is a
Game
fighter,
on the
is Steve
fifth
West. You
leg.
remember, he's been to the very
Steve
top of the
West.
game, Steve. He come into this Group B very confident of qualification. Overnight, he was top of the table.
See if we
Just
get
having
Robert to
those
throw
moments that
first. Game
sometimes
on.
you have in a competition. You don't often win tournaments without going through some moments of concern. And that's what he's doing at the moment, especially the fact that
125.
Robert Thornton is looking so good on throw.
Yeah, and I think the one thing you'll probably agree with is whoever doesn't make it through to finals night out of this Group B will probably feel very hard done by, because it's been so close, so
42.
tight, and we've had so many high quality performances.
100. $60.
So, if Robert Thornton can get over the line, which is looking good that he will do, he will be on 12 points. Steve West,
96.
Fallon Sherrick and Dan Lowby will also be on 8 points. The easier game you feel would be for Dan Lowby. He would then move to 10 points with victory over Stefan
95.
Schroeder, meaning the final game would be a straight shootout.
$100.
As you say, looking good here for Robert Thornton, down to 80 after 12. But we know Steve West is a fighter and
140.
will be on a finish if Robert
Will we
Thornton
require
does miss.
80? $55.
Another
Steve
outstanding
require
effort.
164.
We've seen some special moments at the MODUS Super Series. It's not to be for Steve West.
104.
It's hope
Will we
rather
require
than
25?
expectation. Robert Thornton for the match for his beloved 17-4. Surely that's a great marker. What a
Game
match,
shot
what
and
a
the
player.
match.
Robert Thornton, we'll
Robert
see you on Saturday
Thornton.
night. We can't say the same about Steve West. He could be involved in a monumentally massive game with Fallon Sherrick to finish the night, but it's job done for Robert Thornton. He moves to 12 points. The tail of the tape, not an awful lot to separate them. In fact, Steve West had the better average, but Robert Thornton just looks so good, so composed. Another 100-plus checkout to boot as well. Robert Thornton qualifies. We move to the penultimate game of Group B. Dan Lowby for qualification against Stefan Schroeder.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where I'm joined alongside the man that's going to head the pile as far as Group B is concerned. Robert Thornton alongside me up here on the balcony. Robert, many, many congratulations. Again, it's another time up here on the balcony. Let's talk about tonight first and foremost, because you played 2 of the first 3 games. It was important to get off to a good start, and you did exactly that.
I think it was just under 100 average these first couple of games, and to be honest with you, my practicing wasn't going very well, and then all of a sudden, when I got on the stage, it just clicked.
What do you mean it just clicks? Is it just an experience
It's
thing,
one of
or?
them. As a dart player, you can have a good practice session and go up on the stage and play absolutely rubbish. Or you can have a rubbish practice session and go up there and play absolutely awesome because you're focused more on playing. Do you know what I mean? And that's what happened tonight.
And with the group that we've got as well, a highly competitive group, some great players in there. These are the types of groups where actually we get the best out of you because you know you've got to be on it right from the first start.
Yeah, I always seem to be kind of, once my back's up against the wall, I play well. But this is one group you wouldn't want to be in, do you know what I mean? And if you said you want to win it, there's something wrong with your head.
Well, you started the night off perfectly. The only issue is you hit a 170 in your first leg. You can only go downhill from there, can't it?
Well, I did, didn't I? But no, to be honest with you, I didn't even know the second treble was in. I had to ask one, and he went, yeah, it's in. I thought, right, I'll just throw it. It went in, and that's just the way it's went.
Did that just feel like the spark towards the night to come?
No, to be honest with you, I thought she had the leg won. Do you know what I mean? She played well in the first leg, and I thought, well, if I get a shot at this, then take it. And I think I've missed a few big finishes on the bill tonight, and it's been absolutely mental.
Right, let's get the elephant out of the room.
No.
Yeah, you know what I'm about to ask.
It's another Saturday night, but no.
It's another Saturday night. This is the 9th now, Robert, from 9 appearances. This time?
I hope so. If I keep playing the way I'm playing, yeah, I don't see why not. I'll be a threat to everybody if I play the way I'm playing, and I'm looking forward to it.
And you love this occasion, don't you? You relish these sorts of moments.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, back up against the wall, get in there, just throw your darts and they'll do the job.
Well, one thing we know is for certain is we always see Robert Thornton on Saturday night. We're going to see you again tomorrow. And who knows, I may be talking to you with that trophy at long last.
Well, fingers crossed, eh? But, hey, got to play one game at a time and we'll go up there and play everybody that's in front of us and hopefully it'll work.
We wish you all the very best tomorrow, Robert. Thank you for popping up to the
Cheers,
balcony.
mate.
A couple more games for us to go. Begins with Stefan Schroeder against Dan Labby. Win for the American, and he is joining Robert into tomorrow night's final. Let's head down to Glen and Laura in comms.
Thank you very much, Henry. And how relaxed does Robert Thornton look, Laura? I mean, I do like them interviews sometimes. You know, that can be very insightful. I was just sort of studying him as a person there. And I think the word I came up was relaxation. Danny Lowry even giving Robert Thornton an applause as he goes off. Now, I'm pretty sure he will know the scenario. But Dan Lowry is a big favourite for this game over Stefan Schroeder. Stefan Schroeder still on 0 points. He'll want to change that in his final game here at the MODUS Super Series this week. But Dan Lowry is 4 legs away from qualification. And I wasn't always confident, Laura, about saying that tonight.
No. And when you were asked at the top of the show, I think when you're asked that, you can't sit on the fence. And I tended to agree with you. I thought because of the position and because of the way he played yesterday, was probably the one most at risk, but really has played himself back into this Group B table. And now he's set up such an opportunity. Doesn't want to fall at the final hurdle.
60. $29. 60.
So, Stefan Schroeder, who's messed about with his tungsten a little bit tonight.
60.
The actual dart itself hasn't changed, but he's been messing about with the stem and just trying to get the balance of the dart right. And I guess 60. If the other players can pick that up, you know, they can often feed on that. Well, Danny Lowby's been a bit of an underdog in his final 2 games against Steve West and then against Fallon Sheriff. But he was absolutely superb in winning both of those games. Now it's about expectation for Dan Lowry. He's expected to win this game.
100.
A real opportunity for him to be here on Saturday night. And will we see it different? Because he he is prone to an unexpected couple of legs, and that consistency he needs, Laura, is now.
29.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say it's a very tentative start from both players. But this is better.
140.
It's almost like as if I say
Stephanie
something, the
McCoy,
opposite
111.
happens. But that's good news for Danny Lorby.
That was precariously close. Well, a chance for Stefan, and he took that at the beginning of this leg.
71.
All you want is an
Danny
opportunity.
McCoy, 40.
But high, wide and handsome. Chance for Lauby, who I don't expect to miss.
20.
And like I said, the opposite usually happens, so I am
Stephanie
staying
McCoy,
quiet.
40.
The rest of this match will be subtitles only.
Yeah, we've seen this quite often. Pulls into the
No
5.
score.
That was pulled
Danny
into the
McCoy,
12.
20.
Well, let off here for Danny.
Game show.
Yeah,
the
this time
first
he
leg.
does make
Danny
sure.
Lelby.
So let's have a little look
Second
at the
against
in-play
Danny to
table.
throw first.
So this is based on the fact if Dan Lauby, based on that, wins this match. So as you can see that Dan Lauby would be on 10 points,
140.
meaning that the match between Steve West and Fallon Sherrick on last would be a shootout.
60. $85.
Yeah, and I guess from a spectator point of view, and, from
137.
us sat here in this comms booth, do you really like it when it really does go down to the wire? But
97.
quite often we'll see a dead rubber at the end of these groups, and it's quite exciting when it comes right down to the very, very last match.
And it's usually the case with these smaller groups, these Group Bs. An awful lot can happen
81.
in the Group A and Group C campaigns. I've seen some real rip-roaring finishes in this Group B, but no better than this
99.
today. I didn't particularly want to see a Fallon Sherrick, Steve West shootout because the two of my fancied sort of runners this week. Like I said, if I was put on the spot, I thought it would be Danny that would be susceptible to getting through.
77.
And
Danny
I'm going to
McCoy,
lose
80.
a sensational player if either Fallon or Steve loses the game. Subject
60.
to Danny winning, of course.
Stephanie McCoy, 146.
Yeah, well, a prime opportunity here for Danny to go 2-0 up.
85. Danny McCoy, 20.
Edge ever closer to that Saturday night final. Needs double 10.
10.
Yeah, and just clips at either
Stephanie
side of the
McCoy,
wire.
61.
And Stefan back for 61. Double 18.
25. Danny McCoy, 10.
Yeah, no player's favourite. 2 darts in hand. Just don't want it on the inside, and it does go in.
6.
This is the
Stephanie McCoy,
unpredictability
36.
of Dan Lauby.
Game on the second leg.
It's 1-1. He
Stefan
can look
Schroeder.
absolutely sensational at times, can Dan Lauby. Almost unbeatable. And at the flip of a
They're looking
coin,
at Stefan to throw first.
he
Game
can
on.
look extremely average, and you just never know which version you're going to get. He's deep in concentration there because he knows he's the better player. He knows he's playing better.
99.
He knows he's up against someone still searching for his first win. However, the scenario comes in, Laura, that sometimes you just try too hard.
140.
Yeah, it's that fine balance, isn't it, between concentration and, you know, trying to get the best out of yourself and your darts. But as soon as you start forcing
41.
the issue, as soon as that pressure really takes a hold, then that's when it's really telling. And that also is very telling. 1 from 10 for Danny. He's setting up the opportunities,
125.
not taking them.
$81. $92.
But again, a positive response. And So far, both legs have gone
44.
against the
Danny
darts.
McCoy, 144.
Danny will be hoping another one does.
Yeah, I was about to say it, from the sublime to the ridiculous. is
96.
one of the sayings I've used for Dan Lowby this week. He's so pleasing to watch. He's quick. He's dynamite at times. Such a big scorer.
82. Danny
On the other
McCoy,
point, he can be
48.
frustrating to watch as well.
Game shot on the
That has
third
been
leg.
his Achilles
Danny
heel in this
Lowby.
match. But this time, that's super clinical. And the response there from Stefan's like, good darts, Danny.
Fourth leg, it's Danny to throw first. Game on.
But I do think Stefan
77.
Schroeder can take a lot from his experiences here at the Super Series.
And I think that was priority number one, Laura, at the beginning when he arrived here on
43.
Monday. He was talking a good game. He didn't want to be just someone here to make up the numbers, was the words he used. But I agree with you. I think he
134.
can now assess where his game is at. He'll know what his strengths are. He'll know how he's feeling up there. It's easier to do it in practice. You know, these players will be making it ridiculously easy. It's
85.
probably the polar opposite to what Robert Thornton said, where he said he wasn't actually practicing great. But when Robert Thornton gets on a stage and the blood's boiling and the
100.
adrenaline's flowing, it's just a different animal.
Yes, that one thing you cannot reproduce in practice is actual match play and how you're going to react and how you're going to feel under different moments. Some way you're absolutely cruising and some obviously slightly more stressful.
83.
Nothing else is like it.
It's important you try, though. I mean, mine was if I was Stefan Schroeder and I'd lost this game, I would go back tomorrow on my practice board and win the game.
119.
I put myself back in that situation until I learned how to win games, and that was always held me in good stead. But there's so much that you can do, but you
98.
don't ever
Danny
want to
McCoy,
practice where
71.
there's not an awful lot into it. And Daniel Albee is a dart away here from 3-1.
31.
Bit ragged, but Stefan back on 192.
Yeah, and this is
42.
a big dart.
Danny
for
McCoy,
Daniel Albee.
40.
Double 10.
Game shot on the
Yeah,
fourth
this time
leg.
he does make sure it's
Danny
been a bit of
Lowby.
an Achilles heel, but has managed to rectify it. And now just one leg away, not just for this match, but for a place in
Fifth leg, it's
tomorrow's
Stefan
finals.
to throw first. Game on. $57.
So a really early opportunity here for Danny, and he looks like he's making the most of it.
140.
Yeah, just a little bit lazy on the last start a couple of times in this match. I've been hypercritical and areas he can really improve. Like I said, I've said many times on comms, it's
57.
really important to throw the dart exactly the same all three. Sometimes it can just be pretty much walking on that third dart. However, this
100.
time he did exactly what he needed to do. He stayed big, he stayed tall. And that 100's a great shot there from Danny. He's in pole position right now.
And that's a bit of a feature of Danny's game, I've
40.
noticed. Even if those two go low, they look like blockers to me, but he does normally find a way to lift it over the top.
83.
A maximum needed here for Stefan. He's getting to the stage where he's beginning to be throwing his last darts here at the MODUS Super Series. A real joy,
140.
a real nice player. New name for me. And someone will be watching
74.
what area he chooses in the future. Nice guy, but Danny Lowby is just reaching that final furlong.
43. Danny McCoy, 104.
Yeah, it's a finish, but big finish for Stefan. As Damn now just looks to tee up something handy.
48. Stephanie McCoy, 164.
This would be something special.
$58. Danny McCoy, 56.
Lowby
Game
qualifies
shot
for
and the
finals
match.
night.
Danny Lowby.
Overnight, Dan Lowby was in 4th position. He was the one I thought was maybe just a little bit in trouble because of his unpredictability, his inconsistencies. He lost his opening game of the night against Robert Thornton, but he was pretty flawless after that. Big wins over Steve West, a terrific performance against Fallon Sherrock, and just done what he needed to do against a disappointing Stefan Schroeder. Dan Lowby qualifies on 10 points, meaning we have a final game and it's a shootout for qualification. Don't miss that one. It's Fallon Sherrock against Steve West.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. I'm joined up here on the balcony by Danny Lowby. Now, I would say congratulations on making it through, but you've only just found out you're through, haven't you? Many congratulations.
Thank you, man. It's good news to hear. It's been pretty inconsistent for me thus far, so it's good news to hear.
I was going to say, I just wanted to get your assessment of the week so far, because at points we've seen some really, really good stuff from you, but at times maybe bits that maybe fall a little bit below your standard. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, definitely fair to say. I've been very inconsistent, I think, personally. My practice has been good. I've been doing a lot of competitions lately, but last 2 days has just been a bit rough, so hopefully good to put it right for tomorrow.
As I say, through to tomorrow night, I just want to go back to after that first game of the night, the opening defeat. It could have been so easy for things to go south for you as a consequence of that. What were you saying in your mind? What were you saying in the background just to get yourself back going for the rest of the night?
I like to think of my game like a Rocky movie. I tell people that, it's like if there was less than 3 rounds in a Rocky movie, you wouldn't have a sequel. I need to get hit a couple times, and I kind of grow into the game, I would say. It'd be nice to not make it hard on myself and just start out the way it should go. but you know, so goes it. So yeah, it's tough loss to take when you're playing well and practice is good, you're winning comps, and you come in here and not perform on TV. You know, I had a loss this weekend in New York as well. Hats off to Stoey Bunts also, but still, it's just like, yeah, you know, you expect more from yourself kind of thing.
Yeah, I just want to touch upon that a little bit, if that's okay, Danny, because obviously it's a massive tournament for yourselves. It was an avenue for North American players into the World Championships in December. As you say, you were unsuccessful in that attempt.
And Grand Slam.
And Grand Slam, of course, as well. Then moving into this competition about 3-4 days later, add the travelling element of it. Was it a case of, yes, it's going to be a tough thing to overcome, or were you actually happy about the fact you can have another tournament and have another crack at something straight away?
No, it's good. I mean, you know, my management and I, we were back at a vault comp like that next night, Monday night, and I got in that morning. So it's just keeping it moving kind of thing. I'm one of those, like, I like having a full week. I like having the duration and taking the hits because, you know, that's just how I play anyway. So it's just got to keep it moving. You know, that's what I'm doing here. That's why I'm here. So, yeah.
And just quickly, Champions Week last time, how much would you like for it to be a repeater this time?
I would love that. That'd be terrific. You know, and it's so, you know, David won his group, and I don't know who's winning in Group C, but I'm looking forward to being here tomorrow and hopefully get back into the finals week, you know.
Well, I can tell you, being joined by Justin Hood and Reece Connie, and Danny Lauby's going to be there as well tomorrow night. It's going to be quick fire at the Live Lounge tomorrow. Right, final game's a big one. Steve West and Fallon Show. This is a shootout for qualification. Let's head down to Glenn and Laura.
Yeah, thank you very much, Henry. And once again, I do enjoy those interviews. And just a couple of things I picked up on there. And number one is real passion for Dan Lauby is that he's a drummer back in America. And I think he was using that mic as a drumstick there. I think I was getting dizzy watching him, but just very refreshing. And I often use an analogy about sometimes as a dart player, it's good to be punched on the nose like a boxer, and all of a sudden you can relax. And when he started with that analogy of Rocky III, I was wondering where he was going with it, but I also understood exactly what he means. He has that type of personality, deals with bounce backs very well, and that's exactly what he did tonight. He was looking second favourite in the early part of tonight, and yeah, 3 big wins, and you know he's there on merit. But what his qualification means that this game, 56. The final game of Group B, the final qualifying match of Series 5, couldn't be any bigger. Quite simply, the winner of this game goes into tomorrow night, and the loser goes home.
Yeah, Steve West kicking off with a 180. Fallon trying to follow herself, not quite able to. But Steve West is a prolific 180 hitter, and back in again.
Oh, you're seeing the grimace there. Not only is he thinking of there, but when that first one goes in, I mean, both of these have had 9 darters. If anyone's going to promise one, it could be a battle between these two, but don't you just sense the focus between these two? I'm not sensing tension. I'm not sensing nerves. I'm just seeing 2 people with real determination.
41.
Yeah, only able to back up the 180, 140 with 41. Fallon trying to find a treble herself.
30.
Doesn't find the treble she wants.
140. $100.
Yeah, big last start there from Steve West. We were saying earlier, when we were talking
93.
about who we thought was going to go through from the group
40.
earlier on this afternoon, earlier on this evening, I don't think either of these two actually featured
in
two that would be in trouble. But there you see it. Steve West takes that opening throw, and it is a breaker throw.
Second look at Steve to throw first. Game on. $140.
And I have to agree with you, Glenn. I just think it's just pure focus from both these two.
60.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Laura, but like I said, we've sort of heard the banter next door, we've heard the jokes. It's been a very lively players area, but for the last hour, it's just been utter silence. The realisation about what was happening. An incredible comeback there from Dan Lowby.
180.
And neither of these two players are going to go down without a fight. Steve West's got the early lead. He's taking control of this leg.
100.
And Fallon Sherrick bounces back with her own 180.
Makes the switch.
91. Stevie Rock,
again,
161.
He deserves a 170. Have seen that, and that was against Fallon by Robert Thornton in the opening match tonight.
99. Fallon Rock, 170.
Well, as a commentary duo, we looked at each other when Fallon wanted that 170. I'm sure many of you were really fancied it, but Steve West is a dart away here for an early
42.
lead. A
Fallon
big
Rock,
lead.
126.
Fallon Sherrick is used to doing special things. She's an incredible player.
89.
Just see a couple of times today, she's just
Stevie
holding on to
Rock,
that
20.
elbow a little bit. But a big, big chance here for Steve West.
Game shot on the
Yeah,
second.
and he
there.
really did work that in
Steve
well.
West.
Yeah, you can see the relief on Steve's face there.
Fine margins.
They're
That's
like
what
it's
I was
Fallon's
thinking when I
reversed.
looked over
Game
there, Laura. Just that millimetre away. The chance at the bullseye there for Fallon with the expectation that she's going to hit the bullseye because that's what she does in pressure
96.
situations. Steve West hits a couple of ways you're thinking it's going to be really tough now. The pressure's on, but he gets in. It's Steve West who takes a very notable and early lead. That includes a break of
140.
throw. Difficult times right now for Fallon Sherrick.
$42.
Yeah, and you have to say Steve has been dominant in the scoring phases. Very dominant with his 180 hitting throughout the night. And it's that business end, it's
60.
that doubles that have let him down slightly. But 2 to the good in this match, and it is a must-win for both of them.
Yeah, lots of conversation going on in between Group C and Group B
24.
tonight, and a lot of the conversation was who was going to be the odd one out and not qualifying. A lot of people felt Robert Thornton. A lot of people felt Dan Lowby.
96.
But not an awful lot of players thought it was going to be one of these two players. But we are going to unfortunately lose a real big name.
41.
And as it stands right now, that name potentially could be Fallon Sherrick as Steve West is just turning the screw.
140.
Just looking at Fallon's body language, not when she's at the oche. It's all business when she's there, but
100.
just when she's
Stevie
retrieving the
Rock,
darts.
65.
She's obviously feeling it at the moment.
61.
When I say feeling, I think it's more disappointment because I did say earlier, whoever out of that top 4 does end up not making it through to finals night, probably will feel quite hard done by, and I can understand why.
58. Stevie Rock, 4. Game shot on the third leg. Steve West.
Steve West leads 3-0. And Fallon Sherrick is deep in thought. She's been in
Full-legged
qualifying
Steve to
position
reversed.
on
Game
the
on.
very first game yesterday when she beat Steve West. But right at this moment, it's Fallon Sherrick who would finish in 4th place
60.
and not to qualify.
$59.
Yeah, you never write her off. Where she is up against a real top player, real big scorer in Steve West.
140.
Let's demonstrate with another 140 to add. He's averaging just shy of 95. He's topping all the statistics in this game. It's pretty much
85.
one-way traffic right now. West is 50 points ahead plus these.
125. 43. $46.
The facial expressions this week from a lot of the players, and Steve West joins the party with that one there. That looked a tired dart there from Fallon.
81.
And Steve West, 6 darts away from qualification. Nothing that Fallon can do on 2-3-3. And what Steve can do
94.
is check up. But when things are going your way, you miss the bullseye, you hit the big 14, and he sat pretty for the match.
96. Stevie required 36. $28. Fallon record 137. $99. Stevie require 8.
Once again, for the match.
$4. Fallon, you require 38. Game shot on the 4 flag. Fallon Sherrick.
Steve West won't panic too much. He's too experienced to worry, but it's never a nice feeling. He knows he should be off that stage now. He knows he should already be thinking about tomorrow night. And positives for Fallon are things like she would have the darts twice in the next 3 legs if it goes the distance.
56.
Seen stranger things happen in darts, but Fallon really needs to find his scoring boots right now.
131.
Steve West, who's definitely scoring the bigger. Those missed darts at a double are the one negative for Steve in this game so far.
41.
But Fallon can't seem to capitalise.
$60.
It's a facial expression to Steve saying they're not meant to be going there.
$85.
And Fallon Sherrick, who started a campaign on Monday morning. She would be totally up for the challenge tomorrow night. By my assessment right at this moment
43.
is she just needs a big spark. She just needs something. Maybe it's a maximum. Maybe.
140.
And that's what good players do.
180.
When you're not at your best, when things all of a sudden aren't looking too rosy, you can ping out a maximum.
78.
He's been here before, Steve West.
87.
It's double 5. And Steve West has qualified for Champions Night. He will be then, joins Robert Thornton and Dan Lowby from a brilliant Group B. It was full of quality for 2 days. We're always going to lose a couple of good players, and unfortunately that will be Fallon Sherrick, whose campaign in Series 5 is over. But Steve West moves on. He will be there on Saturday night.
Indeed, you will. And I suppose it's Group B for brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I said it before. Any of those top 4, when it got into that last stage, you know, for anyone that lost that, they were going to feel very hard done by, and understandably so. And unfortunately for Fallon, it was her that just missed out on a place in the finals.
Yeah, so this is what we've seen this evening then. A night full of drama, a night full of twists and turns. But if you're Robert Thornton, well, he kind of made light work of it in the end.
Yeah, he did in the end. Yeah, I think he did survive a bit of a scare there around the middle against Stefan Schroeder, who probably put his best performance in of Group B against Robert. But yeah, at the end of the day, just ran through the card and finished top of the table.
He did. As for Steve West, well, he's just keeping up this seemingly unblemished record when it comes to qualifying for Saturday night.
Yeah, it did come right to the wire for Steve this time. And as I say, I think when we started this evening, both Fallon and Steve were 2 that we all were quite in agreement that would make it through. But kudos to to Danny as well, because he kind of came really from behind and just fought his way through. And it was a lovely interview where he was surprised he didn't even realise he'd made it.
And if there's one thing we know about Steve is a night like tomorrow, he is going to be bang up for it.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think, there's going to be a few of them bang up for it from what we've seen this week. It's been so competitive, especially this Group B, and that's going to probably take it into tomorrow. And again, who makes it through is anyone's guess.
How much do you think his experience in terms of making it through the Champions League, he's looking for a hat-trick of Champions League appearances this time around, how much could that help him?
Yeah, I think it grows your confidence. You obviously know how to get through this stage. I think Robert Thornton's obviously a clear expert at making it through to finals night, but just doesn't actually make it through to Champions Week. And Steve West on his last couple of series has always made it into Champions Week. So yeah, you have got the experience to draw on, but you still need to do it on the day. And as I say, for those guys, they have done it today.
Right, let's hear from Steve now. He's downstairs with Glenn.
Steve, went very much down to the wire in the end, didn't it? Can I just ask, how did you feel going into that final game?
Not the most confident, because I've obviously played 3, lost 2 with higher averages in my games. But I knew if I could hit the double, then I'd be good.
But the most important thing, you've qualified. Like I said, I listened to your interview last night and I thought you were just a little bit hard on yourself. And I'm delighted that you've got a smile on your face there, because I said in comms, you don't often win competitions without just having a moment of difficulty. You're through that difficulty with real aplomb. It's a big win over Fallon. What's the preparation going to be between now and tomorrow night?
Yeah, you say it's a big win over Fallon. I think I've done myself justice in the first game with Stefan, because he was an unknown quantity. So he could have come out here firing and you don't know. But, yeah, OK, the last game was a big win. But the 2 games in the middle, I think I should have probably won them.
He also said that you're the type of player, not only I potentially think you're going to win tomorrow night, but then you become a big player for Champions Week as well. Daryl Pilgrim's getting all the headlines at the moment, but I always see you as someone with a real opportunity, a really good player at your very best. Which version of Steve West are we going to get tomorrow night?
Yeah, that's hard to say. I feel good. So, the best of me could come out, but, it's unpredictable, as you know. And, hopefully I prepare right and I come right and everything goes great for me. But I couldn't tell you honestly what version you're going to get.
Well, Steve, you are there tomorrow night, and can I wish you the very best of luck?
Cheers. Thank you, Glenn.
Very honest appraisal there from Steve West, still downplaying his chances a little bit, basically saying he doesn't know what version of him's going to turn up tomorrow.
Yeah, and I can understand that. I think, he has been harsh, and I think he is kind of dwelling on those games that perhaps got away from him. But, he's done what he's needed to do. Yes, it did come right down to the wire, which, again, exciting for us, but probably not so much for the players. But, tomorrow's a different day, and he knows how to win these Super Series weeks. And he would like another shot at Champions Week, I'm sure. So perhaps downplaying it just to, lull the rest of them into a false sense of security.
The old kidology games. Right, let's have a look at the table. We mentioned Robert Thornton making his way through. Danny Lauby, the other player who's going to be into tomorrow night's final. It could have been so easy, as I said to him up on the balcony, for him after that first game, first defeat, for his night to completely unravel. But the kick that he had to make, and he had to make that kick towards line, he had to win those games at the end. When it mattered, he found something.
He really did, and he showed the levels that we were talking about. And I think his own appraisal, again, very, very honest. Didn't quite have that consistency. Found it frustrating because he's doing very well in the ADC, the vault, over in the CDC as well. So I can understand that frustration. But again, tomorrow's a different day. I know I've just said it, but it really, really is. And it's a different element when you get to finals night, because it's much more cutthroat. There's far less chances to stay in, and then you get those knockout stages.
It's interesting that he said that he found it a bit slow to get out the gate, but being a player with a bit of fast pace and only a fast, tight tempo, you would have thought that the format tomorrow night would play into his hands. It has before, because he's won a week.
Yeah, he's won a week. Again, he's another one that knows what to do, but I think he was a bit too slow in these opening 2 nights, and he does need to get out better and faster. He did put the analogy in there of, having a few setbacks in order to come back again, describing it a bit like Rocky, and don't get that many chances tomorrow. So, yeah, he might get a few setbacks, but he needs to make sure their legs are not matches tomorrow.
Most definitely. Right, let's see the tournament bracket then. This is how it all ends up, and it's amazing to think that we still haven't spoken about David Evans yet, and he was breaking all the records as far as Group A was concerned.
Yeah, and he was just Mr. Consistency, wasn't he? I mean, you have to give complete credit to winning all bar one of his games. I mean, that takes some doing. But again, some of the averages that we've seen, we didn't see that from Dave. So we know he's got the levels. Perhaps he wasn't quite pushed enough in Group A, but he would have sat back, probably would have watched this, and he's going to know what he needs to do.
One last space, one last little pencil drawing, an invitation to be handed out now.
Yeah, it's very tempting, isn't it? And, right near Champions Week, is this the best time to qualify? You're going back-to-back weeks. It's an amazing opportunity for someone, but as you say, just one space, and that's going to be a tough group to fight it out.
Shall we do it tomorrow?
We shall indeed.
See you tomorrow night, 7:30. We begin here on the Super Series YouTube channel, and then Sporty Stuff TV from 10 o'clock for the culmination of the action to see who the final player is for the Champions Week.